Welcome back, everybody, to the NACE Starleague 2023 Spring Playoffs. We are here for the final of the Open Premier League this season. Every single match, every single clutch has led to this moment. For it, absolutely 100%, I am here joined by Dak. Once again, how are you doing, man?
Nurse, I'm doing great. Yeah, it's great to be back. These 2 weeks since our last cast have flown by, and we had a great time. And now I'm glad to be back casting some more Smash for another awesome crew battle against the first and second seed in this bracket. So on paper, this should be, a pretty exciting matchup between these two schools.
Yeah, we're going to see Fisher College going up against California Santa Cruz, who also like to be known as Tonic Gaming. So we're going to be referring to them as this broadcast kind of progresses. But I think this is going to be an interesting one. Obviously, the 6-0 coming out on the side of Fisher College, the 5-1 on the side of Tonic Gaming. And if you look to that side of Fisher College and you keep up with Smash Brothers at all, you might recognize a couple of those names.
Yeah, absolutely. Some heavy hitters. I mean, heavy hitters on both teams, but Fisher College, you can definitely tell at the top of that board, Sonics. Yeah, one of the best players in the world. Absolutely, right now the best Sonic in the world for sure. Tony Pajamas, Moxie, Jerry, G Extreme, all really strong players in their own right as well, and players we've actually seen across the past few seasons competing here at the upper level at NACE Starleague. So no surprise there. And then on the other side, we have Plum, Nestboy 12, Wesa, Easy, JV, The Gamer. I know there's a bunch of other players on their roster as well, but we were talking about this before the broadcast. I mean, Nestboy has some pretty solid results, often playing against players like, Dakpo, Louis Money, right, up in the in NorCal. So definitely some sleepers on, I think, the US or UCSC team on Tonic Gaming that I don't think we need to sleep on. They're sleepers, but we can't sleep on them. I don't think Fisher College should either.
No, and that's where, the little risk of upsets happen, right? When you kind of sleep on players, you don't expect them to have that high level experience. That the people on the side of Tonic Gaming are no kind of they're not used to playing against a high level of player. As you mentioned, players like Dakpo, Louis Money, Varun, all very strong players in their own right. And so they have experience at that level of play. And it's just a matter of how they're going to show up today against players like we said, Sonics and Moxie in particular, who have both been on the PGR, and Sonics in particular, who dominates Wi-Fi events weekly.
I literally think he just won his 24th coin box or something.
The 28th one.
28th? Okay,
something crazy.
Yeah, I think some pro sports teams don't have as many championship rings as that, and he is getting all the H-Box championship rings essentially. So that's crazy. Yeah, one of the most prolific online players in Smash, I think, of all time, really.
I mean, since the Coinbox series has started, I have to feel like he's won more than he's lost, almost.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, that'd be an understatement.
And so that is a hill to climb if you're Tonic Gaming, right? That is a player who has shown time and time again to be comfortable in these situations, to be comfortable clutching out high stakes matches. And so it's going to be a matter of, can you give yourself enough of a lead to where you can kind of overcome that mountain of Sonics right at the end. And that would be, not so bad if you weren't facing down the barrel of Moxie, Tony Pajamas, and G Extreme, who are all ranked in their respective regions as well. It's a big ask if you're Tonic Gaming, I have to say.
Yeah, it definitely comes down a lot to that crew psychology of when you play certain players, what kind of situation are you trying to set yourself up for later in a set. But yeah, against a team like Fisher College, who can kind of play every player almost anywhere, I think, which is something that not a lot of teams can really do, and that really separates some squads from the rest, is just the fluidity of being able to have anyone be an anchor, anyone be a lead. So Sonics could go in early and not to say that they're going to get mopped, but Sonics will get a really big lead early, right? Yeah. Or you leave Sonics on anchor. You might not even see him be played. So that's something that makes it really hard for other teams, so I think, to adapt to that kind of team. Whereas you can go and watch footage for a lot of schools and see, oh, they usually play this player. around the same time. This player, plays usually anchor, etc. I think with Fisher, I could be wrong, the broadcast, I haven't seen them, but I would have to imagine that they can, be more adaptable and change up where they want to play without really much, issue at all.
And I think another one of the benefits of having a lot of these kind of top player reps on your squad is you also have a very robust character lineup. We have characters like Sonic, Ness, Wolf, Pokemon Trainer, GX Stream is Pikachu. So a lot of very strong characters in their own right, and a lot of characters that are still strong in this format. And so not only do you have solid players, but you also have solid characters across the board for if those counter pick situations even do need to be brought up, you can also lean back on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tonic Gaming has a little bit of that edge too there. Like they have pretty meta picks, but I wouldn't say like overall as close to like your solid top tier meta picks, right? Like they have like a Robin in there, which is like kind of an odd pick too. But we're gonna see what these teams end up picking here. We're gonna go to a short break, but don't go anywhere. This final set is coming your way just on the other side of this break.
Welcome back, everybody. Wasting no time at all, we are heading right back into the game. The first matchup between these two teams, Tonic Gaming versus Fisher College, and right off the rip, Tony Pajamas. What's happening, man? What happened?
Maybe potentially a lag test?
I think maybe he wasn't ready for that to be real. The stocks are dropping. They're going to be going back to the lobby, and potentially just a quick reset on this one, going back to the Smashville. But at least now we know the opening matchup. It will be Plum versus Tony Pajamas. And I think, honestly, if you're Tonic Gaming, you're not too mad about Tony Pajamas coming in first, particularly because you have Ness Boy on your side of things. And so if there's a matchup on this, on this Fisher roster that you expect this team to know, it is that one.
Absolutely, yeah. The nice little like Nest synergy that both these teams have is now gonna kind of be that pivot point for these teams, how they're going to be able to leverage that against one another It looks like we are going to jump back into it. Maybe it was the wrong stage, potentially. I'm trying to remember what stage they were just on, but...
Yeah, no, this is the same stage and everything, but looking like we're getting right back into it. Both players immediately ready, and the early dash attack is going to lead to 29% on the side of Tony Pajamas, as this Yoshi has been stuck in disadvantage for quite some time now.
Yeah, Plum just kind of getting boxed out a little bit here, and then the back air going to land from Tony Pajamas. Keeping him on the ledge, just a regular get up, goes for the forward smash, and immediately clipped in by the drag down forward smash from Tony. Trading blows here, but already that lead that Tony got immediately is just really giving him a lot of room to work with, and Plum so far is having trouble landing hits at all. Sometimes just kind of flailing out of range of a lot of these moves, and maybe kind of hoping Tony's going to come in and get hit, but so far Tony's spacing has been on point. Plum hasn't been able to get any strong hits in so far. Only 25%, another 30, but again, these small hits, Plum's really been unable to follow up on, and the back throw seals the deal on the first kill.
Yeah, it's a really tough spot to be in when you gotta get Ness combo to 80 and just kind of lit up, and unfortunately, missing the edge guard is gonna mean the stocks will trade again, and now Plum, unfortunately, sacrificing that stock on a whiff, and we've seen time and time again how much stocks like that can matter in a crew battle, but Tony Pajamas with an incredible whiff himself, meaning this is gonna go back to one stock apiece, and it feels like we've hardly even been in this game.
Yeah, I know Yoshi's a reptile, but this Yoshi's got some dog in him, all right? Like, Plum has been cooking, and I 100% respect this play. I mean, literally not wasting any time, not hesitating at all to go for some extremely risky offstage plays, and despite the first one not necessarily working out the way they would like it to, going for it again, and it pays off the second time. That yo-yo is going to be huge, though. Do they have the jump? I don't think so. Unfortunate, but Plum, a valiant effort there. That was really, I mean, in a moment's notice, taking that game by the horns right there and giving themselves an opportunity when things were looking dire kind of really early out of the gate.
I mean, what a truly psychotic game that's
how you started off right there.
A truly psychotic game that
was great.
In a quick Tony stock into a traded stock on the side of Plum into a gimp on a kind of a misspaced air dodge to ledge from Tony at 35%. The stocks during that game lasted nearly no time at all, and even the very last one was gone to the yo-yo at about 85%. And so, I mean, if you wanted a quick game, you can't ask for much quicker than that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and we could tell right out of the gate that it was going to be a quick one. I mean, they were trading blows right there, but honestly, again, you know, to Plum to be able to bring it back like that quickly, whether by some different circumstances, some they were controlling, some they weren't necessarily, and it got a little sloppy, a little spaghetti at times, but that's what we love to see. You can tell these players are already trying to throw everything they can at each other. So, not a bad, I mean, it's only a one stock lead too, right? Like, could be a lot worse. So it's really still in either team's, you know, court right now. It can go either way.
I think if you're Tonic Gaming, you have to be of the opinion that you need to make those plays. I think, you know, it's not too ambitious to say that they are likely the underdogs here, just due to the caliber of player that we're seeing on the Fisher College side of things. They know that, and there's, you know, to a degree, an advantage to knowing that. Because you know you don't have much to lose, right? You don't have much to lose by not putting it all out on the field. And so it's really encouraging to see that Plum was willing to go for plays like that, willing to make those big plays with confidence that ended up taking those stocks at you know, really relevant percents. I think we need to see every player do that if they want a chance, because big plays is how you make upsets, and it's how you come back in these crew battle situations. It's how you even just kind of cement yourself as a front runner in them as well. I just think you have to have that confidence.
Absolutely. And I think it's a testament that both of these are the top two seeds, and they've both made it this far, that I think they have that in them for sure.
Yeah.
But it certainly is a big difference between a lot of these teams too, is a lot of teams are sometimes not necessarily playing to win, they're playing to not lose, right? And you can tell both these teams are playing to win, and that makes a whole lot of difference. And there is a difference between those two things, of course.
Yeah, a big difference as well, like we were saying, but Waystar is coming out now on the Robin, and I think this is an interesting pick. You know, Robin has the disjoint to be able to kind of compete with Ness, to be able to to outrange him and do that damage, but you know, Robin does rely pretty heavily on projectiles, and Ness is able to just absorb those while healing. So it's going to be interesting to see how Weisa is able to kind of manage PK Magnet and kind of find those hits when they need them.
Yeah, and on the other side of the coin too, like there's a lot of good Ness mix-ups and cross-ups you can get on Robin because of her height in comparison to Ness. So a lot of good stuff you can do crossing up. That PK Fire is still a good neutral tool for sure. It helps keep Ness in and really kind of forces Robin to respect a lot of these aerial approaches, especially when they're going for their own forward airs. That jab's going to land, and that's going to put Tony now at a little bit of a deficit, but that up B smartly giving a lot of room for Tony to get back in onto the stage.
No jump.
Weisa does, yeah, burning that up B to get back on, but again, another PK Fire catches. The shield comes out just in time, and those back airs are being fished. Fisher College certainly, teaching them right for sure. And those back airs are now poking on this shield that's dwindling here for Weisa. Has to get out of dodge. And now almost a 40% lead here for Tony has been built up. Well, hasn't been hit until finally that jab lands from Weisa.
Yeah, it seems like Weisa is having a lot of trouble finding these big hits on Tony, and as I say that, I mean, that's the best air dodge read you're going to see all day. The down throw, and just looked at him, said, do it. I dare you to do it. I want you to do it. Just pull the trigger. Press that funny little R button. Tony Pajaba's pulling the trigger. I mean, impressive stuff from Weisa, who, like we said, was a little bit behind there, had a little bit of trouble kind of dealing with the safety behind stuff like Ness Fair, Ness Back Air, Ness Nair, especially with a slower character like Robin, but knowing when to pull the trigger and when to wait and finding that big play. I am very impressed with Taunting Gaming so far.
Yeah, definitely a lot of patience shown, especially after that wall of back airs where there was a ton of poking, a ton of fishing there from Tony, and just being able to wait that out and then just placing the perfect shot, the perfect strike right there, worked out perfectly. And now it's tied up even on stocks, right? So we can wipe the slate clean. It's all good to go. Only one player dropped from each team, and both players going into the next one with fresh 3 stocks. So yeah, Weisa coming in. The problem though with having this Robin, not the best character to get counter. You can kind of get counterpicked a little bit here. You have Sonics waiting in the wings with Sonic, of course, who's going to outspeed Robin all day. You have Mox, you can go, PT or Wolf. Might lean to Wolf there, but Pokemon Trainer can certainly do it. So, I mean, you have some good options that you can kind of swap to and not really worry about, oh, who can we throw at Robin of all characters,
You're not too worried about it. And like you said, Wolf, very strong against Robin. Just the combination of the reflector and the laser make it a really big pain for Robin to even compete in their like preferred range. I think, there's Pikachu in G Extreme, which has a really strong offstage presence against Robin and can pressure with Thunder Jolts. I think there's no real way to go wrong here. I think I would be hesitant to send out Sonics, just because Robin, while certainly not great against Sonic, is usable, right? The projectiles can stuff out Spin Dash, and the Arc Fire can also do some work in terms of spacing, and then finding those big hits on Sonic is definitely possible. So when you have other characters with such strong options, I don't see why you would want to send in Sonics just yet.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if you think, well, Sonics is good enough, like skill gap wise, to overcome that, like then does it become overkill to even send Sonics out when someone else can, do the job a lot more efficiently? So yeah, I agree right there. And Robin, kind of a hard character to kind of play from behind as well. So it's going to be pivotal to really get that first stock and hold on to it. Again, Robin, slow character, like definitely has to rely on getting these, like we saw those nice, like low mid% like combo strings there with like, having that right sword that you need.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that, if you can't get that set up and you're going up against a Palutena potentially, who's going to land those early to mid% strings, it might be hard to get things started, and it might be hard to get things back in your favor working from behind. We'll see. Mateo coming in next for Fisher College.
Yeah, a little bit of a jump scare. Mateo unexpected on this roster, but here nonetheless, and the Palutena is coming out fast and furious. We're talking about good Robin counter picks. It doesn't get too much better than this. Palutena able to use the reflector, able to use the projectiles, and able to dominate that kind of sword range with the back air and the dash attack. The invincibility there is so good against Robin. So Weisa now has a big task ahead of them.
Oh, just barely falls out of that roll, but the down B gets him just in time, evening things up actually. It's like slight difference in percent now. Another big, huge area that Mateo's going to dominate a little bit in here is in the corner, right? Those edge traps, right? The edge guarding and the ledge traps that you're going to have against Robin. Palutena can just kind of stuff and completely oppress Robin in the corner. But Mateo giving Wesa a lot of room, falling back here and slowing down a little bit. Now, like, okay, like this Robin knows how to cook a little bit. I'm going to respect it. Nair lands, and that's a full Nair, so he gets a lot of good damage off of that. But again, another forward air lands very solidly on Mateo. Another back air going to come in as well. And the side B, not going to kill, but almost enough. One more will certainly do the deed.
Something we've seen time and time again throughout the season, and Mateo looking for the back throw there. Something we've seen time and time again is these kind of neutral heavy or just fundies heavies character like Joker, Palutena, Lucina kind of ebb and flow in terms of results. And part of it is because characters like Robin or some of the heavies in the game in this format are able to find those big hits and kind of cheese games away in a format that kind of allows that to happen a little bit more. And so I think you know, if you're Mateo, you feel pretty good about taking that first stock, because there's definitely a world where Wesa just found a stray back air and that kind of went awry very, very quickly. It's going to be a matter of now, with the stock lead, if Mateo's going to be able to slow it down, play that kind of strong neutral game, and make sure that those huge hits don't come through, because Palutena really has the tools to make sure that they don't.
Well, there's those stray hits you're talking about, and yeah, only 43% done by Mateo. And the problem you're talking about, I think, is also exacerbated by just like Palutena in general. Like, she in particular has that problem with a lot of characters, that she can win in neutral a lot, but if you're not getting the kill quick enough, you're giving that other character an opportunity to get that one stray hit that they need to kill you. So as much as Palutena can dominate, if she doesn't seal the deal quick enough, like she did right there, it can spell disaster. But Mateo, with a very clean stock, doesn't leave Wesa an opportunity at all to do any damage. And now the extra credits coming in, stacking it up, and Robin in a landing situation, I mean, that's a nice down air, but very often is getting just eaten alive by characters like Palutena that can now pace them on the ground and catch all their landing options.
There's a huge sequence coming out of Wesa right there, though. 86% and potentially something off the top. Gonna put themselves not an entire stock behind at this point, but still not in a great position. If this ledge trap can turn into something, which it should, a slight miss on that arc fire means that the stock will not quite be taken, and now Wesa back at the ledge. The pressure of the Palutena back air is so strong, but able to find their way out with an up air and reverse the situation altogether.
Ooh. Dash attack on shield, gonna get punished for that throw. No big deal. 150 now for Mateo, who's looking to try and get this kill without losing a stock. And as I say that, I mean, gets absolutely just disintegrated. That stock explodes. And now it's up to Wesa to try and steal this stock away here. And maybe take the lead for Tonic Gaming for the first time in this set.
Yeah, that would be something. A really big performance from Wesa if they were able to take this lead. They've already taken 3 stocks within this crew battle, and Mateo is definitely looking to close this one out. We've seen a couple of really big swings on the side of Wesa. The forward smash and the up smash have whiffed, so Mateo is looking aware, and finally the explosive flame will catch the mash and disadvantage, meaning that Mateo will put Fisher College back at a 1 stock lead. But if I'm being honest, 1 stock lead it's nothing. It's irrelevant, especially if the next player is able to take that stock without losing one. We'll be right back at even. And looking at what we expected from the players on Fisher College is compared to the players on Tonic Gaming, as we're 2 players down already, I'm very impressed, because I expected more of a lead to have been built by this point, and Tonic Gaming is really keeping themselves in this.
Yeah, they're keeping pace very well here, and honestly, great job by Wesa in that matchup too, to keep things close. Mateo came out hot and really turned on the jets with that Palu, but we saw Wesa slow things down and get those big hits, which again, especially in that matchup, like, you can get hit a bunch of times by Palu, but if you get that one stray hit and even things up or even get the kill, none of that other stuff matters. You were saying this a couple weeks ago, it's not a game of percent, it's a game of stocks, you know. It's at the end of the day, that's what matters. And we saw some really good play by Wesa, very, very patient, obviously had the combos down. A lot of really just good heads up plays too, right? Like, not a player that's clearly fishing for setups that they've maybe thrown in training all day. Like, really solid neutral heads up gameplay from that Robin. So solid job. Yes, only a single stock difference between these 2 teams. Definitely not what we expected. Tonic Gaming doing a solid job here as we go into the second half of this first set.
And I think an interesting aspect that we have to consider is a lot of the people on Tonic Gaming do compete in that NorCal region, and guess who kind of runs that region right now? It's Louis Money. And guess who Louis Money plays? You know, with the Palutena on that side of things, I have to expect, especially looking at the Smash data, that a lot of these guys, especially Nesboy, are comfortable with that Palutena matchup, because we've seen through the previous tournament data, he's played it a lot, and he's played it a lot at a very high level. And so I wouldn't be too surprised if we see Nesboy sent out. I would expect him to be able to clean up that stock pretty quickly, like I said, just due to matchup familiarity within the region. And then I think, it's an interesting play because Fisher College probably also expected to be at more of a lead here, probably expected these first two players to kind of go in a little harder than they have. And I think there's also, part of that where you have to come back from it, mentally a little bit and be like, how good are these guys really? You know what I mean? Like, why are we not winning as hard as we thought we might be? What's going on here? That being said, we do know Moxie, G Extreme, Sonics, 3 ranked players still potentially waiting in the wings depending on who they choose to send out. So it's not a done deal by any means, but Tonic Gaming has shown that they're able to kind of slug out with the best of them.
Absolutely. And definitely over the years of like covering a lot of these collegiate Smash teams, like I think they don't really go around and kind of underestimate teams either. Some of them do, and I think they kind of quickly learn that. But I think this late in the game too, like that could be a death sentence, underestimating any kind of team here. And I'm sure by now they know that's definitely not something that they're going to be able to do coming into this. Nesboy, could definitely be put in. It's really the wager of, do we use Nesboy to take care of this matchup, or is Nesboy our anchor? And to me, on paper, I think it's worth having Nesboy as the anchor. I think, Easy JV or the Gamer, whoever they bring in, instead could probably clean up potentially this Mateo Palutena. So
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility either. Like I said, all of these guys are from that NorCal region, being from UC Santa Cruz, so all of them.
And they're all playing the same tournaments.
They all play in the same
literally
brackets.
Playing each other. Yeah, exactly. So
they play against each other, and they all have at least one set, I believe, against Louis Money. So at least some high level Palutena experience there. So you're right. If Nesboy is their kind of go-to to close things out, or he's the person that they want in that anchor position, and from what we saw from the tournament data, he's probably their best performer in terms of offline results. You can probably rely on, Easy JV, the Gamer, both those guys have had those sets. You probably rely on them to close this one out. But I think you're really thinking about who's going to get counterpicked next. Once you get rid of this Palutena, who can you send in to make sure that they don't get cooked?
Yeah, I mean, that's again when you think of maybe like Sonics, because Sonics you can kind of play really against anybody. And I don't know if necessarily Sonics, because Sonics could be the anchor, but Sonics is also a player that gets you a lead, You put in Sonics and set yourself up for success in the last 2 players, right? And just give them like a really nice 2 or 3 stock lead to work with. That's another, like, having those X factor players who can just like all of a sudden generate like a nice like gap of stocks between you and the other team at any time. That makes it, clutch to almost kind of play that character or player you might think is the anchor a little earlier. Whereas, I mean, Tonic Gaming is definitely playing really well, but am I as certain that like Nesboy might be able to do that amount of damage just being put in? I haven't seen them play, but I've seen Sonics play, and I feel confident that Sonics can do that. So I'm interested to see who they put in next. I would love to see who that is going to be definitely soon. But I'm sure these teams are taking all the time they can take to make sure they're making the right decisions. So excited to see what they have for us next.
Yeah, I mean, being only a best of 3, this format is very unforgiving, and even just in general, the whole best of 1 format that they used to get here is very unforgiving. So these teams are used to these kind of intense situations, but while they take a second to think about it, we will be going to a quick break, but don't go anywhere because we'll have the second half of this crew battle coming up when we come back. And faster than we left, we are back with Hyro. Pichu being sent in against Mateo, trusting this Pichu to take this final stock of the Palutena on Kalos Pokemon League. So the lightweight of Pichu potentially less of a factor with the bigger blast zone. That being said, lightweight definitely on the side of Pichu, which means Palutena's killing problem can be a little bit less of a problem, which means this is a high-risk, high-reward pick coming out from Tonic Gaming.
Yeah, this is interesting because I know Hyro, I believe, also plays a little bit of Aegis too. So I'm curious. I feel like Aegis might have been a better pick matchup-wise against the Palo. I feel like Pichu doesn't necessarily have any kind of particular advantage against Palo, but it could just be a comfort pick. We've talked about that in the previous weeks where some players just love these particular matchups. And again, like you were saying, I mean, Hyro might just be like, hey, I've played a bunch of Blue Money, played a bunch of Palo in my region. Like, I have no problem, jumping in here. So that said, Mateo looking to at least take one stock and might be able to do that, but is getting close. 93% Undying Their Own here, and now over 110%, just barely as Hyro. One more will do it. Almost. That stray hit just not going to connect. Mateo now trying to get back on. Almost. It's taken out, but the dash attack will be enough, and Hyro goes down.
Yeah, Mateo, he had a couple stocks to a couple chances to close out that stock before it actually happened, but the kind of overextension on the ledge from Hyro will go punished by the dash attack, which means Mateo will clean up that stock. I don't anticipate that Mateo gets another one because Hyro is able to land that up throw thunder, the true combo. That being said, that extra stock loss, that's where the lead can be built. So this is the first time we've seen it now. Fisher, a one stock lead, and Tonic Gaming doesn't have that easy way to set it right back to even. So now it's on Hyro to come out and perform, take that one extra stock to get it back to that even scenario.
Yeah, and now looking at this Pichu, they're thinking, okay, who has arms the length of their body, really, or something like who has normal sized arms? We can easily take out this little Pichu here. So I'm certain they're looking at that. I mean, Moxie could probably just come out potentially with either the PT or the Wolf, I think.
Yeah.
And be fine. I still think Sonics is probably going to end up being their anchor, so I'm confident in that. But yeah, Hyro with that Pichu, it's a character that, I mean, has always been such a glass cannon, but I think in Cruise especially, like, you really set yourself up to be counterpicked playing a character like Pichu, which is why I thought, when you have an Aegis to work with, why not have the Aegis and at least keep yourself, like, closer, relatively comfortable when someone else comes in on the counter pick. So interesting to see how Hyro adapts. I mean, if you're still playing Pichu in 2023, I feel like you're probably comfortable in most situations, and you're probably feeling good about that. Like, there aren't many of them left these days, so that usually says something.
Yeah, I mean, players like Nitono and Black Twins, I think, are the two that come to mind when I think about Pichu.
Literally the two, yeah.
Just those guys. Black Twin's a good friend, but it's tough. It's tough. It's not a character that you can really solo main at this point, just due to the volatility kind of associated with playing a character like Pichu. Is very, very feast or famine. One thing that makes it a little bit better is if you have those up throw thunders kind of locked in, and it looked like, Hyro's 1 for 1 on the up throw thunder, so
yeah.
Is it up throw or down throw thunder for Pichu? Am I crazy?
I think isn't it up throw?
It was for Pikachu in Smash 4, but so in this game.
Run it back.
We'll see. It's up throw or down throw thunder. That being said, having it online, because it's not the easiest input of all time, and we're seeing actually Kiwi come out on the side of Fisher College, so we kind of got debated on who was even playing in this group battle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we've so far seen 2 players that were not on the roster we saw, or like on the graphic.
That being said,
I think it's
Kiwi, another very strong player from the New England scene. We've seen great things from her throughout the entirety of Smash Ultimate. So again, even though it's players that we didn't necessarily expect to see, it's players that are still of a very high quality and caliber.
Oh, absolutely. Kiwi's been around since the Brawl days, a veteran competitive Smash player, been playing for over a decade. So absolutely a strong competitor for sure. And an interesting pick, though, because, I mean, Pichu, I don't necessarily think dominates Pac-Man. I think this is kind of an even matchup, but it's interesting because Pac-Man is in many regards a stubby character, and so you wouldn't necessarily think that they would be the pick against Pichu. But there are a lot of parts of Pac-Man's game that those disjoints and these items that just make kind of make a lot of interactions with Pichu kind of inconsequential.
I think the idea here was probably that Pac-Man can kind of disengage from Pichu at will, so those big hits are less of a problem. Combine that with the fact that Bell F Smash will kill Pichu at probably 65%, makes this definitely a pretty scary matchup for Pichu, and one where they have to play pretty clean. When you already have the stock lead, you can afford to take this slower pace that kind of relies on those disengagements, and we're seeing it here, the back air coming out and just not killing.
Yeah, great DI there. Also, you can see how much of a difference the hydrant makes, right? Like, it's not only something that can just randomly kill Pichu off a stray hit, but it also blocks those T-jolts a little bit longer and just gives Kiwi a little bit more of an opportunity to get around them, or just blocks them outright. So, the forward tilt, though,
actually
what year is it?
Actually, 4 in a row, man. Four tilts in a row, and then the run back on the apple means that we're gonna go back to one stock apiece, but Kiwi came in with the stock lead, so Hyro is gonna have to make sure that they get this next one off, and preferably the one after that. Kiwi looking to cement this lead as increasingly solid. The down air just missing on the spike hitbox, and the down B also won't connect, but the self damage coming out on Pichu is actually keeping Kiwi relatively even in this game.
Yeah, literally for every hit, it just essentially keeping it a tie. So Hyro doesn't even have to do any work here. Now that once they do, they get a few hits, and all of a sudden Pichu is starting to fly by in damage. And what looked like Kiwi's flying by in damage, but now it looked like a match that seemed like was in Hyro's control here. All of a sudden Kiwi has brought it back a little bit. It is up throw.
It is up throw. Yeah, I'm not crazy.
Well, when you questioned, I was like, wait, it is up throw. It's not down throw. Okay.
I'm always so worried to get stuff wrong because someone's gonna be like, "You're so stupid." And it's just wanted to make sure that being.
I mean, paranoid over this throw move from Pichu, of all things.
I mean, you don't see Pichu basically ever. So.
No, that's true. But I just saw Black Twins play recently at the come up, so I should know better. That does kill though. Not going to spike again, but it will kill. So now a full stock lead, but it is doable.
Oh, absolutely, it is doable. And we see situations where stuff like the runoff up air into the down B for Pichu can kill it like 0%. But Kiwi with the hydrant, that consistent hitbox on such a light character like Pichu will take the stock. But you know, Tonic Gaming, man, everyone has been taking their stocks. Kiwi putting them, or sorry, not Kiwi, Hyro putting Tonic Gaming in a position to even this one back up again. And I have to keep saying it. What we thought was going to be maybe a more one-sided affair has turned out to not be at all. These Tonic Gaming players have come out and show us exactly what they're made of, why they were the second seed, and why they are in this finals. It's going to be on now, I'm assuming, Boy to come in and close this one out. And with only 4 stocks left, it's pretty doable. And with, you know, kind of the surprise picks that we've been seeing on the side of Fisher, I don't even know if Sonics is coming out. We've been talking about it the whole time.
Anything's possible.
We expected Moxie, we expected G Extreme, we expected Sonics. We haven't gotten any of them. So I'm very curious about that.
I mean, Tonic Gaming, they could also potentially play Easy JV. They played the Gamer, but yeah, I think you're right that we're going to see Boy 12. Seems to be their strongest player on the roster, so it makes sense. But you're right. Fisher College has been throwing us, I mean, just left field, you know, curveball after curveball, essentially with this team. And Mateo, Kiwi, all coming in. So yeah, you're right. I mean, we could have Moxie, we could have Sonics come in, G Extreme, Jerry, Sauce, the Mario. I mean, really could go anywhere. And in fact, we have Boy 12 coming in for Tonic Gaming. So it comes down to, can Boy 12, can Boy get this stock? This one single solitary stock that Kiwi has without losing one of theirs, and then how do they deal with the counter pick that is inevitably coming from Fisher College in the last matchup? We're going to see how this rolls out.
And if you're the Tonic Gaming guys, you are just very kind of confused about maybe the players that are coming out or even who's coming in last. It makes counterpicking and preparing so hard because when the roster is that deep, it's very challenging to know who you're actually going to be playing up against. Being said, Nesboy off to a really good start, 45% already built up on Kiwi, but that forward smash and Hydra are going to do about 40 right back.
And then they'll DBZ trade right there and whiffing a lot of these aerials. I mean, just outside of each other's ranges, like almost throwing, like going in circles around each other until finally a little bit of shield pressure on the platform. PK Fire comes out, gets punished. So Cherry comes out, also barely clips Nesboy and just keeping them at about a 30% difference here until Kiwi gets clipped again. Dealing it right back. The forward smash is going to be just the tail end of that. It's already active, not going to be the strong hitbox. So, but the bell clips, hangs onto the ledge for too long. Invincibility ran out. Gets the stun, gets the kill.
You gotta know that. You gotta have that in the back pocket. You gotta be aware that that is something that Pac-Man can do. The bell will hit you off the ledge if you drop invincibility, and that's just a matchup thing that did not need to happen. Kiwi more than ready to convert off of that. Now that little interaction led to such a significant lead that Kiwi might actually be able to take another stock. The get-up attack is gonna get them off the ledge, and the orange is gonna send Nesboy flying.
See, the thing is, someone like myself from Tri-State who's used to seeing Pac-Man all the time, you know, like Sinji, Kiwi, etc. Like, I almost think of like, okay, like Nesboy and all them in NorCal might play a lot of Palatenas and whatnot. How often are they playing Pac-Man? I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Are they
probably
more respectable out there? They have more self-respect in NorCal? No, Pac-Man. I actually think Pac-Man's a very fun and cool character to watch here.
Yeah, I mean, like, Pac-Man can be interesting. There's a lot of setups and there's a lot of things that you have to know just for Pac-Man, kind of matchup specific stuff, because situations like this at the ledge come up pretty often and are really tricky. Every Pac-Man kind of has their own flavor of what they're trying to do with it. Now Nesboy at 157%. This is going from bad to worse, and if this stock is taken, it's a very, very big ask to make this comeback go the entire way. And in fact, Kiwi's looking to close it out right now. The 3 stock coming out for the side of Fisher College, and Kiwi showing us why she's been in the game for so long. She looked so good up against Nesboy right there.
Yeah, not just looking to take it, absolutely does it right there. A veteran play for sure. You can tell that is a tenured play from Kiwi. Under that pressure, doesn't break whatsoever. Some interesting picks from Nesboy at the end, but Kiwi seals the deal and Fisher will take that one. Yeah, we're gonna go to a quick break though, but don't go anywhere. We have some more Smash Crews coming your way on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, to the NACE Starleague Spring Finals here for the Open Premier Division. We're here for some Smash Crews, and we're here for the second half of this set because Fisher College is already up 1-0 over Tonic Gaming from University of California, Santa Cruz. We just saw a 3-stock at the end there from Kiwi's Pac-Man to seal the deal on Nestboy, and now it is up to Tonic Gaming. We're in Grand Finals. This is it. This is Finals. It's do or die now for these teams. It is up to Tonic Gaming to change things around, to kind of flip the script on Fisher, the favorite coming into this one, and see if they can push this to a set 3 here in this final series. I am Dak City alongside Nurse to take you through the action. Nurse, how you feeling after that one? It was an ending we didn't expect, a series I think we didn't expect. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, that was very close. Right? Yeah. We saw even stocks or just one stock down throughout almost the entirety of that crew battle until that very last game happened. And so I think if you're able to slightly adjust kind of the counter picks, who comes out, who plays against who on the side of Tonic Gaming, just making sure that maybe Nestboy doesn't go out against the Pac-Man, who he's not so familiar with or maybe not so comfortable playing against. I think, you have a chance to take it. We don't know who that last player is for Fisher College or who either of these teams are sending in, really, both of them having, 7 or 8 people on their roster. So this second part of the crew battle could look completely different than the first one if they choose to sub in or sub out a certain number of players. That being said, I think if you're Tonic Gaming, you're pretty happy with how that went. It was pretty close, kind of across the board, and so if a couple more things go your way, a couple more situations go your way, and maybe the counter picks shake out a little bit differently, you're able to actually come out on top of that. So you actually have kind of a clear path to what victory looks like, and I think you kind of have to latch on to that and just hope that this one goes your way a little bit more.
You're absolutely right, and it's a satisfying, but it's a scary situation because on one hand, Tonic Gaming showed that they can keep pace with Fisher College. On the other hand, because both teams have such deep rosters, it's hard to pull away learnings from the first game when you have no idea what the other, like you said, the other team's going to look like. They could be a complete swap, and anything Tonic Gaming might have learned might not apply anymore because all of a sudden Sauce comes out, G Extreme, Jerry, Sonics from Fisher College, and you're playing an entirely different team you just played. So it is that leverage you might have as the winning team by being able to field an entirely different team going into the next part of the series is actually a huge advantage, really. And Tonic Gaming is the onus is kind of on them to respond to whatever adaptations that Fisher College kind of applies to themselves unprompted. So we'll see. These teams kind of keep it together. Tonic Gaming still has AN, another Nest player, if they wanted to throw that in, they needed to. They have Menace as well, who is actually a DDD random player. Yeah. And to me, if you have a DDD random, you throw them in.
Yeah, see what happens. See what happens.
That's scary right there. I would be petrified.
Let God choose, honestly. Let Sakurai choose what character is coming out next. I mean, yeah, that being said, they have those 2 players on the back. They have Easy JV and they have the Gamer. So, like I said, both teams have kind of a strong roster of players, a lot of players that can be shifted around, a lot of moving pieces, to the point where this next crew battle could look completely different from the first. That being said, we're kind of waiting to see what happens first. And I think if you're Tonic Gaming, I don't think there's too much you switch out there, honestly. Most players took their 3 stocks, kind of performed up to what you would expect. And so I think you have to go in hoping that the players that got you there in the first place are able to just maintain that performance.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And no one on Tonic Gaming really felt like, we need to change it around because they really kind of held the rest of the team back, which is great. Like, you could tell both teams are really firing on all cylinders. I think probably the weakest part of their team is the fact that one of their good players is a Robin. I think, honestly, it comes down to that. Like, it's just unfortunate. They're a really solid Robin, but you're gonna kind of put your team in a situation where you can kind of get counterpicked a little harder. On the flip side, I think having Kiwi as the Pac-Man is really strong because Pac-Man's a character that doesn't hard win a ton of matchups, but has a really solid matchup spread where you can kind of put Pac-Man into blind character pick situations really consistently, and you can't hard counter pick Pac-Man with like really anyone on the roster. I don't think there's no character that like dominates Pac-Man hard.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like Kiwi going in there is kind of similar to Sonic too, right? Except Sonic does dominate a lot of people, but also has that really solid defensive spread. So Kiwi coming in there was really good. But yeah, I think we're seeing the exact same lineup from both teams. Okay.
Yeah, no change at all from either team. Both teams confident that things could have gone their way. And honestly, with how fast-paced this first set actually was, I'm interested to see what exactly is going to happen here, because there were some misplays, there were some flubs, and there were some very, very early stocks taken the last time these two faced off.
Absolutely. This was a bloodbath between these two players. They were kind of slugging it out. But it kind of went how we're seeing it right now, where we saw an early lead by Tony, except now Plum is keeping it a little bit closer, landing a bit more of these eggs. But Tony really good in the corner, right? These ledge trapping situations are working out well. And just a little tap, a little bit of the yo-yo is just enough to stop Plum from getting back.
And that's the unfortunate situation that happens in Smash Ultimate. When you actually air dodge towards the ledge, if you do it a little bit too low or at the wrong angle, you'll actually bounce off the ledge instead of snapping to it. Plum could have made that back had that air dodge been angled a little bit better, but unfortunately, missing in that NACE situation, and Tony is looking dominant compared to the last time these two faced off. As I say that, man, shut me up really quick. Plum with a quick jab lock into the forward smash to take that stock very, very quickly. And 84%, it was looking dire when Tony was only at 84% as well, but it was even up so quickly. Plum showing such resilience in both of these games.
Absolutely. Oh, the yo-yo again, almost causing a lot of trouble here for Plum in the corner. I mean, a huge difference maker, and Tony so far has been stellar, keeping Plum either off the stage entirely or taking them a lot of damage to get some kind of footing here. A lot of poking. Again, the yo-yo putting shield pressure in. The forward air is going to land, putting a lot of damage down on Tony, but not going to put them much closer in closing this gap, as Plum is still getting one shot in here and there, but no significant long strings of damage, and Tony almost putting themselves here to a full stock lead.
Yeah, but this is what we saw last stock. As soon as Tony was able to kind of cement some sort of lead, able to make something happen, Plum was able to get that big hit that we've been looking for and turn it right back to even stocks. And so we're going to have to see if that hit is going to be able to be found from Plum, or if this is going to be Tony's time to show. The last one, maybe a bit of a fluke. It should have been cleaner. Let's clean this one up with a 2-stock lead.
Oh. Almost catches the jab with the PK fire. Down smash, second hit does connect. And now super far out. We've seen how far Plum is willing to go for these kills. That time a little bit more hesitant though on this last stock. Gets forward throw, not going to do enough damage, nearly enough, or knockback for the kill. Again, whiffing. Both these characters though at high percent, if not kill percent, especially Tony. One of these stray hits from Plum might do it, but the back throw is certainly what Tony's looking for here, especially with all this rage. Has to be careful. Goes up with the forward attack, and the back air from Plum will finally get that second stock. Can they get one more against Tony at this 92, now 104%?
Great stuff from Plum, honestly. Not going to take that last stock, but at least performing as well as they did last time. Like we said, Tonic Gaming has to be pretty happy with how the last crew battle went, and so Plum able to take Tony down to that last stock. I'd be interested to see now if we see the Robin come out again, able to take that last stock off of Tony clean and put us back to an even game. I think if you're on the side of Fisher, you're also not too mad. You did win the last crew battle on this pace. So if you're able to maintain it, I think you're pretty happy with that. I think what needs to happen now is Tonic Gaming needs to come out and have kind of a standout performance here. Whether it be the Robin or the Pichu or whatever, someone needs to come out and take 4 or 5 stocks. And I think that cements you with a little bit more momentum.
Yeah, this is kind of where things started to slip for Tonic, because they had ways to come out here and do some good damage, but not enough to kind of create a solid lead for this squad. Yeah, this is, again, Cruise is such a big deal where you don't want to be fighting that war of attrition. If you start trading when you're down stocks, you're going to lose eventually. Yeah. You don't want to be bleeding early, because making up the gap is hard when both teams are losing stocks. You only have so much time in the crew battle. So making those big adjustments, honestly, at this point in the season, this is kind of where this is where you have to kind of take those risks, right? And I think the team's willing to do that in their play. Plum very clearly very willing to take the risks. I think as a team they need to be able to take those risks. I don't know if I would be surprised, but it would be very interesting to see if they don't change their lineup at all, knowing that because like how close the result is, that just a small change could make the difference. Would be very shocked actually if they don't make any adjustments here. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the point where you could bust it out too, is kind of bust out a surprise player that's maybe able to catch the Fisher College guys off guard, able to put them in that advantage. Either it is, you know, Easy JV and a gamer. We know that they have those players. The DDD, especially in the crew battle format, we've seen a couple times that character is able to make stuff happen. And so I would like to see kind of a switch up as well. I'd like to see something interesting, not just holding the course from the last crew battle, because unfortunately that course, it ended in a loss for you. So you need to be the playmakers, you need to be aggressive, you need to make something happen. You can't just kind of rest on your laurels here, because it really just implies that you think one of the players that didn't perform so well is going to really, really perform better. And so this is the switch up that we're seeing, and this is a crazy one. As far as characters go, Ness generally considered a very bad matchup for Pichu.
I think this was I think ultimately it was probably the right change if they're going to keep the same 4 players on Tonic, and they're not going to maybe bring in, I don't know, the DDD or Easy JV, or I mean, they have the gamer who also plays Joker.
Yeah.
From the players we've seen, if they don't want to play Nestboy earlier than they need to, then yeah, I mean, you kind of have to put in Hyro. But you're right, this is a matchup that historically you don't want to be fighting as Pichu. I mean, just forward air alone makes things difficult, but they're both stubby little guys.
All right, and also Hyro's the GOAT, so just ignore everything we said.
No big deal.
Yeah,
no big deal.
Sometimes you just find those, and we talked about Pichu being a high risk, high reward character. There's the high reward. You get one read like that on an air dodge to ledge with the forward smash, and the stock is more than gone at 89%. And I think that it's interesting, and I have to imagine that was off the back of like a comfort pick. Just because Nestboy is on this Tonic Gaming squad, all of these players undoubtedly have experience in the Ness matchup. And so I think, you know, in-game matchups kind of be damned. You're feeling pretty good about what the Ness matchup looks like just for yourself, and you're able to come out and get that last stock. And I think that's a really good play from Tonic Gaming, because they're able to keep pace in this crew battle with taking that stock and not losing one. We're back at even, but also something's different. The character's different. The player's different. You're able to kind of set the pace and set the tone a little bit differently. And I think that's something that you needed to do if you're Tonic Gaming.
Yeah, and if you're Tonic Gaming, you probably feel great about making that change and like, okay, we're tied. That was great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Like, this is where we needed to be compared to last, series. We're right in the same spot. This is awesome. Yeah, I think that was a great move from them. I think now, though, we're going to see Kiwi come out, a bit earlier as well, to deal with this, and just have Kiwi come out, and just the hydrants are going to be a huge nuisance. And then again, because you have Kiwi out, like, there's no one that I think Tonic can really put in to be like, oh, we can hard counter this Pac-Man, right? Because they bring out Nestboy, who kind of got checked against Kiwi. Yeah. I don't know if they're in any rush to bring Nestboy out. Obviously, the Pichu could really kind of get clobbered by Pac-Man. And then your other options, I mean, Robin, I think, doesn't do too bad against. Yeah. They're kind of playing the same kind of game. I think Pac-Man doing it a bit better, though, but they're kind of playing a similar kind of game. So I think they're going to be able to play each other's paces. So maybe that's the move.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And we are seeing Kiwi come out right now to counter the Pichu. And honestly, Hyro did fairly good against Kiwi the last time these two faced off. I believe he was able to take 2 stocks off of the Pac-Man before Nestboy ended up falling. And so a couple of situations go differently on that high-risk, high-reward character of Pichu. And Hyro could actually come out on top of this, and a huge thunder to start things off into the forward smash, which doesn't fully connect. That is so unlucky.
That was crazy, too, how that thunder hit on the right side and sent Kiwi flying to the left.
Oh, my God.
Put her in such a horrible situation, but Hyro getting a full, absolute hit there of the forward smash from Kiwi. So we'll take the lead, and now a single stock lead for Fisher College and a single stock lead here for Kiwi. That gets taken out. Hyro with a pickup.
Dude, we are seeing demonstrations of both high risk and high reward with Hyro right now. Losing stocks in the blink of an eye, but taking them right back in the double back air puts Pac-Man deep off stage. Won't be too much of a problem due to Pac-Man's recovery and seemingly constant ability to fall out of F smash, though.
I will say both of these players, their advantage state, incredible. I mean, they are really making the most of a lot of these interactions. They're not whiffing a lot of stuff. It just, unfortunately, there's a lot of falling out happening, but the intent is there, clearly. And...
oh my god, no way, man!
Reaching! Wow. Wow.
I don't care, man. Hyro's my favorite player. That's,
yeah.
That's where I'm at right now, honestly. Willing to go so deep, willing to make the good plays, and really pushing this advantage state about as far as it could possibly go. Catching Kiwi a little bit off guard. Being said, Pac-Man is a character that can slow down the pace, try to find those kills, and so we're gonna have to see now if Kiwi is able to find this stock and then able to even this one back up. If Kiwi falls here, that's a huge player off the board for Fisher College. Kiwi was able to close it out in 3-stock fashion last time.
Yeah, I mean, even coming out of this, Kiwi is still only going to have that single stock. Not going to have the value as the Pac-Man that they had previously. I mean, Hyro is really putting on a fantastic performance right now to make a huge difference here for Tonic Gaming from UC Santa Cruz. And so far has been making a massive difference. If Hyro can pick up another kill here and give them a 2-stock lead, that could really be enough and might force Fisher College to really think twice about their lineup. And there's a back throw kill. Hyro picks up that one nice stock, and now it's 1 stock apiece for both teams.
And actually a jab lock could have been found there for the side of Hyro. Kiwi missing the tech on the Nair. Unfortunately, Hyro unable to commit, but now going so deep off stage and trading with the back air and the armor of the side B will armor through the spike hitbox of the down air. Hyro maintaining the advantage state though. Kiwi trying to get back to stage and aggressively at that. Now at 77%, that is more than enough to kill with an F smash. Being said, consistently going deep off stage, Hyro gonna be able to find this kill, potentially at the side. A back air will do it, a forward air probably gonna do it, an up smash will do it. There's a lot of moves that could come out here, the forward tilt as well. Kiwi is just maneuvering around it expertly right now though.
This stock could be the difference in this series.
Oh,
it's not going to be enough. There's no way. Oh, but there's the orange.
Oh,
get that citrus in you.
I mean, that is heartbreaking. If you're Tonic Gaming, you had Kiwi at 130% when you lost that second stock. And unfortunately, just unable to close it out, unable to find that back air. Kiwi so clutch in those situations, able to keep Fisher in the lead, but just barely. And now, because Hyro actually came out second, they don't have to rely on Nesboy here. So if we see the Robin come back out, potentially take this stock off of Kiwi, this is again a very close crew battle.
Yeah, it is, but that, I mean, heartbreaking has to be an understatement. I remember hearing growing up one time that people, there's no such thing as a clutch, just team or players choke, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Kiwi clutched right there twice, like, against different players. Like, that was very, very well done. Extremely patient. Again, you can tell a very tenured, experienced player. A lot of these players have been around Smash for a while, either from Brawl or even from Smash 4, right? Like they've been playing long enough where they can, like, clutch comes down to like being patient sometimes, or like keeping your mental together, right? It's not always about, oh, I got to hit this crazy huge read to get myself back into the game. Sometimes it's about like really just keeping the pace, like keeping your breathing together sometimes. And Kiwi's certainly a player that can do that. Another fantastic clutch that, what it seemed like Tonic game, like, okay, they finally have like the lead. They might go into the second half with the advantage. It gets taken away from them by Fisher once again.
No, absolute thievery on the side of Fisher College. But now Wesa is coming out. Nesboy is going to be kind of waiting in the wings as that anchor position. And Tonic Gaming seemingly no switches on this roster, committed to the first 4 that came out as their strongest pairing. We're going to have to see if Wesa puts on a better performance than Nesboy did the last time someone went up against Kiwi for the second round.
Uh-oh.
Oh, going
the fire pillars are coming out.
And that's a quick 60% already on Kiwi. 72, seemingly not prepared for the pressure that this Robin was going to apply, and actually just getting 0 to death, lost in the sauce. And Kiwi, the player we expected huge things from, the 3-stock the last time they faced off against their second opponent, is now going to be relegated to no damage dealt. And Fisher College is in a much better spot than they were. That being said, Mateo did come out last time against Wesa and looked pretty good. That being said, it was still close. And so Tonic Gaming, again, with Kiwi off the board, means potentially a better matchup for Nesboy going into the latter half of things. This is the switch up that we needed. This is the switch up that this team needed to put themselves in a position to win this crew battle.
For sure. And Kiwi's still getting that clutch last round. Definitely big, but I think it could be worse now. I mean, Tonic Gaming kind of mitigated the damage that did a little bit. So definitely well done by Wesa to come in and get a nice kill without dropping there. I think what happened is Kiwi, I think her jump got taken and she got hit by the 11 sword going towards the boundary. So unfortunate, but you still have, like you said, Mateo could easily come right in, and then that might be all she wrote, right? Like that might not be all they need, but we'll see. We still have another player from Fisher College that we have not seen. So that's the big thing here, is we haven't seen 4 players from Fisher. So we actually don't know. We know their benches deep has 8 players, but we don't know actually who's on it right now. Is actually slotted in. So it could literally be anybody from it could be Jerry, G Extreme, Sonics. Sauce is still waiting as the Mario. So really, Fisher has not played their whole hand. That's the one thing. I think Tonic Gaming has really evened the odds here, but that's the one card that Fisher has not yet played that Tonic Gaming can't do anything about. They have no information on that. They haven't been able to scout it. It's nothing to be able to do about that, except, unfortunately not getting as many stocks as they needed last time. So that could be the one factor that Fisher College has that ace up their sleeve. Who is that? Who is the fourth man?
Yeah, who is the final boss? Who is the
final player?
And with how deep their bench is, like you said, G Extreme, Moxie, Sonics potentially coming in that 4 slot. I'm a little nervous if I'm on the side of Tonic Gaming. That being said, if that 4 slot ends up being, not either Moxie or Sonics, a PGR ranked player, you're feeling a little bit better about it. And with who's been coming in, it's definitely not guaranteed to be one of those 2 people. And so Tonic Gaming definitely still in this. And even if it is one of those players, definitely still in this. We've seen a lot of heart out of this team. Kind of the little engine that keeps putting stocks on the board in this grand finals.
You know what? I think I'm going to give them even more credit than that. I think we were really maybe even underestimating them coming into this. And I think that's maybe just because, we saw Sonics on the Fisher roster. We're just like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But truthfully, that was, absolutely, way off base, because Tonic, they are the second seed coming into this, have very strong wins throughout the bracket, haven't been dropping games really. They're winning 2-0s. Like there's have much earned this spot as Fisher has, for sure. And speaking of changing things up and the spots that they are being changed in, G Extreme comes in for the first time on the Game & Watch up against this Tonic Gaming roster for the first time. Can this be, how much of a difference?
I was like, this matchup is not good. I don't even know if I don't even know if G Extreme plays Game & Watch. I thought he played Pikachu. I was like pretty confident. That being said, Game & Watch, such a strong character against Robin, able to absorb so many of those projectiles and get the oil panic online, as well as the pressure with the chef at the ledge being so good against Robin, and that combo game being so strong. Game & Watch is a really, really strong counter pick here, and I think this shows Fisher College is taking this very, very seriously.
Ooh, okay, the double turtle, be extreme. Looking very clean right there. Whether or not they play Game & Watch, I think It might just be like, okay, well, this matchup, we're going to win this, and I can play Game & Watch competently enough.
Yeah.
Or it's worth it, and GXtreme is certainly proving that so far. Having a little trouble getting out of the ledge, getting out of the corner here. Still stuck on the ledge, and all these projectiles. Game & Watch has to go very high to get around them, and really committing to do so. Just no punish in time from Wesa coming out. Wesa hasn't been hit on the second stock, though. GXtreme having some trouble landing stuff, but so far has really just been focused on getting back to the stage, and again finds himself in the corner, gets out for the second time, but still only now landing some damage here on Wesa.
Yeah, and hardly anything at all. Wesa has really kind of just said no hits allowed for the second half of this game and has been holding GXtreme at the ledge fairly competently. The up Bs have been used to get GXtreme off the ledge pretty consistently once that arc fire is online. Wesa can call that out with an up air if they're willing to. It's a matter of if they've noticed the pattern and know what the punish is. I would love to see that from them, though, because it will certainly take the stock at this percent.
Oh, that bucket is just ready and waiting. Arc Thunder comes out, jab will follow up right there, and GXtreme does not want to be in this corner
up air!
They need to be.
I want you to do it, Wesa! I want you to do it! He keeps up being from the ledge, and I mean, GXtreme not being given a reason not to, it keeps working, and I think that's one thing that if you get to that upper echelon of Smash, you kind of start to learn is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't pick different options until somebody forces you to. So GXtreme's going to keep leaning on that. That being said, the forward air will clean up that stock on the side of Game & Watch, but 95% already done to the side of Wesa. It's a bit of a comeback now. You got to make sure some of these hits come through and that you avoid the big damage coming out of Game & Watch, and that Nosferatu is a great start.
And by the way, the crazy thing about that setup is that Wesa like almost forced GXtreme to only be able to up B from the corner, you know?
Yeah.
The punish should be there, but I mean, this is now a much closer stock than it was.
The reflect on the
a
sword.
A huge one. Yeah, the reflect comes in, another turtle landing. Bomb's gonna keep him spaced out, flipping some bacon real quick. And now Wesa, I mean, we saw this in the previous matchups, having some trouble landing, but that Levin sword is right in play. Big hits on Game & Watch, and gonna be dying earlier at being this lighter character. GXtreme has to be careful because Wesa has a lot of resources to work with and is doing a lot of damage, clawing back into this one. The key comes out just in time.
And that was so close. That up air absolutely would have killed a character as light as Game & Watch. Even something like a back air will kill at this percent, and we're getting close to the point where the Nair and the Fair will do it as well. But with no Levin sword online, it's not going to be enough in those situations. And we've seen a couple of times now, the key from Game & Watch will actually low profile the Arc Thunder and the Eld Thunder coming out of Robin. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. GXtreme's been able to get out of disadvantage a couple times because of that, and now taking the second stock, Wesa has really put themselves back in this game.
Oh, all right, a lot of pressure in, and GXtreme trying to make the most of this second stock, and you can see just playing safe, even though they don't need to, just wants to try to generate as much of a lead and potentially take this last stock without dying, but has to put a lot on the line to get some genuine damage done on Wesa. Does get 22%, and Wesa is just playing patiently, knows that this stock can kind of come to them.
I mean, we're just playing basketball
Where's
now.
The
a little bit
right
of dribbling
there?
ends up going Wesa's way, and now the Arcfire at the ledge, going to run out of the tome, but using it to get the kill. Wesa, I mean, what an answer back, taking this to the last stock after what was a dominant first stock from GXtreme. And we're seeing right now maybe a little bit less familiarity with this Game & Watch character, potentially, again, don't quote me, potentially not their main, and just used for counter pick purposes. That being said, still in an advantageous position. And that's going to be it.
That should be it.
So cringe. I'll say it, it's cringe.
He needs it.
He needs it. 60-70%. You get hit with down smash. GG.
Very fair.
GG.
That's fair. At least he didn't build a block to set it up. He earned it by swinging.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Well, the down smash comes in, the forward smash makes it happen, and GXtreme comes in with that curveball that we were looking for, and that was it. That said, again, I mean, Tonic Gaming is really putting on a really good performance, and it's like you know how sometimes players be like, I'd rather get like 8th in a top 8 than get 2nd, and like, you know, like, because you get so close, and to not win at all is rough. And that's kind of what I feel for Tonic Gaming, where like they're so close. Like if just a few things changed, they could have won the first set. They could be up right now. And like if it ends up coming to the point where Fisher wins as 2-0, it's not going to be a dominating 2-0. You know, it hasn't been this whole time. And Tonic is getting so close that they should definitely be proud of how well they're playing, but they just have to close that gap. And there are a couple moments, I think, again, matchup knowledge is probably having a factor here. A couple just unlucky trades, a couple solid clutches from a certain Pac-Man, but those little things have added up. And unfortunately, for them, going for Fisher College's way, but Fisher certainly earned it. Tonic is just right there. They're doing so well, but they need to find that little bit of X factor to get back onto the other side and take the lead. Yeah,
as someone who competed for a very, very long time, 9th and 2nd are definitely the toughest placements to get in a tournament. Those are
9th is rough. 9th place curse is worse.
Those ones hurt the most, and so it is interesting to see for Tonic Gaming here, because they are so close. Again, a couple of things go their way, and they're looking so good in this, and you have to think, what would have happened if Kiwi hadn't clutched in multiple situations across these crew battles? What would the difference have been? That being said, Nesboy now is able to come in. Game & Watch, not necessarily a great matchup for Ness, but it's not Kiwi's Pac-Man. And so we're expecting Nesboy to put on a little bit of a better performance and bring Fisher down to this mystery final player. Or maybe it's just Mateo. Who knows? Maybe G Extreme was the mystery final player. Who knows, man?
That's actually a good point. I wasn't thinking about that, but yeah, it could just be Mateo. I mean, Palo as an anchor is not bad.
No.
Generally, teams try to avoid Palo anchor. She's just a really good character to have everywhere else, I think, and she's not as strong as an anchor, but not a bad pick. Like, you could do a lot worse. So that could really be it. And Mateo was playing really well too. So I think that could absolutely be the case. But yeah, Tonic Gaming kind of they have to earn that. They have to earn seeing that 4th and final player, which they have so far been unable to do. But they got to get through G Extreme first, whose Game & Watch, for, you know, being a main or not, was solid enough for sure.
Got the job done. There's no doubt.
Had the Game & Watch. The game was being watched and played for sure. You know, not like, you could tell it wasn't someone that they've never played before, right? Which, like, even for a matchup, you can tell. But
yeah. I mean, he's definitely Mr. Watch and Learn, and he's just showing us how it's done in this crew battle, looking to close this one out in a 2-0. Now Tonic Gaming down to their final player, Ness Boy, who's looking to put a stock on the board. That's all that he's being asked of for the start of things here. He'll be asked for 4 in general, but the last crew battle putting on a total of 0. You know he's looking for a better performance than that.
All comes down to this. Last 3 stocks for Tonic Gaming for UCSC. And that'll be it. And that'll be it for this entire season for them. Fisher College. And by the way, Fisher College is competing in Rainbow Six after this too. They're looking to go back to back. They're looking to be 2-time champions here on a Thursday night. So this is a big win to start things off if Fisher College can do it. And it'll be off of the backs of some stellar performances across the board. And G Extreme is going to be one of those performances right now. So far, I mean, hasn't got a lot of offense done on Nesboy, but is keeping things close so far.
Yeah, and with a character like Game & Watch who has the kill power that is just so crazy on moves like up smash, down smash, forward smash, and even, you know, stuff like back air to go for deep off-stage plays, you can't really count him out until that stock is gone. And so, you know, even though Nesboy is ahead right here, we need to make sure that he takes that stock and that G Extreme doesn't find that big hit. That being said, this is looking better than the game against Kiwi, and even if the stock is taken off of Nesboy here, it's pretty likely that he'll be able to find one and push Fisher to that final player.
Or Tilt gonna come out, get a little space here for G Extreme, who's rolling around and gets punished for it, but the dash attack creates all that space, then then some. Oh, the forward smash. I mean, at this point, again, this is what Game & Watch can do. Just can start throwing out smash attacks. And you kind of have to deal with that. That's a big part of what makes this character so good. And Ness, not always in a position to be able to do that. We'll see how much G Extreme can get off of another thrown smash. But Nestboy wants to get this one stock here and keep things even going to the next one. Can they do it and not burn a stock to get this job done?
Yeah, G Extreme has been finding a ton of value out of these down airs. Nestboy either not blocking the first hit or not blocking the landing hitbox, and now we're seeing that slow pace from G Extreme, using the up B to retreat in unfavorable situations, and then just trying to find those smash attacks, trying to find those back airs in neutral to try and take that stock, not doing anything too overcommittal, not trying to risk anything, because this stock is huge. This could determine how the rest of the crew battle goes, and the dash attack might actually do it.
Oh.
Not quite. Game & Watch just heavy enough to live, but now stuck at the ledge, using the up B and the key to come back down. It's predictable at this point, but Nestboy unable to capitalize.
I don't know. I mean, at this point, I don't think Game & Watch is paper thin. This is some like cardboard situation here. It just has that little bit of extra weight needed. I don't think Game & Watch has ever had. I've seen before. The down smash lands, and the DI almost ended it right there. Nestboy has to get in close, but the down air comes in time. Has been killing that position before. And now Tonic Gaming is down a stock going into the last player matchup, unless G Extreme closes out here. But G Extreme has done a big service to their team, getting that last stock in before they go down, giving Fisher a lead going into the last matchup in this series, potentially between the last two players of this set.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, the down air ends up being, an untackable stage spike situation. We kind of see it time and time again, and like you said, G Extreme able to take that ever important stock to give Fisher a lead going into this last game. We're gonna see who that anchor player ends up being, but I think going in with a one stock lead, it's such kind of a breath of fresh air if you're the anchor player. You're not coming in facing kind of down the barrel of a huge comeback, but you're saying, I can play kind of loose, right? I can kind of feel out this matchup. I can go for some bigger plays. I can make some mistakes, and there's kind of room for all of those things to happen. I think it takes a little bit of pressure off of that anchor player. On the other side of things, Nestboy took a stock, right? No 3 stock on the way back. A stock was taken, and so he's got to feel a little bit better about his performance too. And as the anchor player for this squad, it would be really awesome to see him turn up as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nestboy has been a player that we've looked to be that kind of star player for Tonic Gaming, and they have been in many ways for sure. Fisher College, who do they have waiting in the wings? I mean, it could just be Mateo, just like hanging out and like, all right, I'm ready to go. Which, no problem with that at all. Mateo has certainly proven that they're a force to be reckoned with. But I think really that the biggest difference, that single stock.
Yeah.
That single stock that was taken there by G Extreme, I think really could decide this series now. Just having that stock difference, unless we see an early percent kill, some clutch coming out here. But I don't know. Palutena is a character that can get some early kills, but doesn't
not usually
get them. So if it is Mateo coming out here and doing something crazy to really make it even more difficult, who knows? Ness, though. Ness, a character that can get some early kills here and there. On Palutena, though, I don't think it's going to happen necessarily, but that's what kind of Tonic Gaming might need, is for Nestboy to come out and steal a stock away right out of the gate.
Yeah, the yo-yo is pretty good against Palo's recovery. She has to teleport kind of right into the yo-yo's trajectory at the ledge. So that is something that they might be able to lean on a little bit to try and find an early stock. That being said, it's tough, and it's tough to look back at particularly this crew battle if you're Tonic Gaming, because so many little things could have gone your way to make this just that little bit better. If Hyro was able to take that final stock against Kiwi, even if there was a world where Hyro made that a 2 stock, right? And gave Tonic Gaming a lead that large going into this next one. If Nestboy was able to take that stock off of G Extreme without losing his first one, again, putting yourself in a better position. And so those are the 2 moments for me where things just went a little bit wrong, where things didn't shake out just how you would expect for Tonic Gaming. And unfortunately, it puts them now down a stock in a situation where, I mean, quite frankly, they could have been up.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be hard to look back at these VOD, do a little VOD review. But it's not over just yet. We definitely can't count them out. It's still down to 2 players. And at the end of the day, I think that's the biggest difference, is that we were not expecting that. I mean, we don't think we were expecting a blowout, but Tonic Gaming has kept things a lot closer. They both of these teams showed up. Tonic Gaming showed up. And I think they want that third set. I'm sure they do. They don't want their season to come down to this. They've earned this spot, and they're so close. Yeah. I think they know, too, that Fisher College is beatable. They can bleed. You know, this is not a team that is unbeatable.
Yeah.
Exactly. They can do it. And if any team can do it, I think Tonic Gaming can.
Yeah, and like you said, I think they've proven that they're able to kind of play up to Fisher College. A team that is 6-0 on the season. Tonic Gaming actually did catch a loss in the regular season, but undoubtedly they've been grinding. They've been trying to get better, and in the face of players that, again, you and me are familiar with from just the regular tournament scene, they have really stepped up to those matchups. They stepped up to try and make it happen, and unfortunately for them, Sonics was the final boss waiting the entire time, and now NACE Boy is staring down the barrel of potentially the hardest matchup he probably could have gotten, not just in the collegiate scene, but any online scene in general.
That is tough for Tonic Gaming. This whole time you're like wondering, are we actually going to get them? And then just at the last moment, it's like Giovanni revealing Armored Mewtwo. You're like, what do you do? Like, this character's about to just run us over. And literally, Sonics has not been touched yet.
Oh my
looking for a 0 to death on NACE Boy. Oh,
what are we doing out here, man? What are we doing? Wow. I mean, come on. It's almost disrespectful. It's almost rude after an entire season, after a close crew battle, hard fought to the wire, with Tonic Gaming showing grit and determination the entire time. All of that only to face the Grim Reaper, the king of online himself, and Sonics is looking to push this one over the finish line with a 0 to death to start things off. That being said, NACE Boy has answered back, but when you are a stock down and the first stock goes that poorly, I mean, this would be monumental for Tonic Gaming to come back from.
A performance of a lifetime for NACE Boy to bring this back, down 2 stocks already. And again, that's what, I mean, you're going up against Sonics, you need every stock you can get. And G Extreme taking that extra stock, really stealing the deal. And just like that, Sonics comes in, the Deuce Sonics Machina right there.
Jeez Louise, man. And I mean, if that doesn't take the wind out of your sails, I don't know what does.
Well, if you're Fisher College, I mean, that puts the wind right in your sails right there, because Fisher College has sailed their way to a victory here in the finals, and they will be your Super Smash Bros. Cruise Open Premier champs here at NACE Starleague in the spring 2023 season. Congrats to them.
Yeah, huge congratulations to Fisher College. Obviously, a very, very strong roster coming out of them and looking very consistent throughout the entire season. We've seen clutches from Kiwi in particular looking very, very good. This split, you know, a very deep roster of players as well. And even G Extreme coming out with the Game & Watch, which was a little bit funky to put Tonic Gaming on the back foot. And obviously Sonic's the final boss of this roster. I think you expect big things out of him every single time he's on the screen. But we also have to give props to this Tonic Gaming squad who pushed it to that last player, who brought them down to the wire and made this team actually rely on Sonics when they didn't necessarily have to before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tonic with a 5-1 record in the regular season, a bunch of 2-0s, 4 of them in the playoffs. I mean, the second seed, fantastic play. We saw some really, really solid performances. You know, Hyro coming in on that Pichu was a lot of fun to watch. NACE Boy was a great anchor. Plum playing the lead as that Yoshi and playing the spoiler and keeping things close. I mean, even Wasa coming in as well. Very, very, very well done. Overall, though, congrats to Fisher College. They are your Open Premier Smash Cruise champions. It's been an absolutely fantastic season. Thank you all for following with us. We always love to cover some collegiate Smash here. Nurse, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, just wait. We do have an interview on the other side.
We do.
So we will be speaking briefly with Fisher College on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be back with the winners.
All right.
Welcome back, everybody. In case you just missed it, Fisher College was able to take first place with a 2-0 over Tonic Gaming to win the NACE Starleague 2023 Open Premier Final. And we're here with an interview with Aaron, the assistant director at Fisher College. And I mean, you have to be happy with that performance. How are you feeling right now?
Feeling pretty good. The kids, they always work really hard for these championships, and adding another one for Smash under their belt is just, another day for them. So really proud of them.
Yeah, that's great to see.
I think the first question I have is, I did a little looking into kind of the Fisher College esports program. You guys do have a pretty prestigious program, a lot of trophies under your belt, and with a lot of very recognizable players on the Smash side of things. Can you tell us a little bit about how you kind of get these players to participate for you guys, and how you kind of hold that very high standard that we kind of see from Fisher College?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much like the person who works a lot with the Smash people. That's why you typically see me on like the Smash interviews, right? I'll reach out to a ton of different people that are just kind of either local to the area, that have been going to majors, that have been going to tournaments, right? We have a chat about what Fisher can offer them, what we've been doing for all of our individual students, right? So not only are these guys full-time students working with the university, but we also help sponsor them. We help send them to majors, we help send them to locals, right? So we help with travel, we help with hotels for a lot of these students. So again, it's not just them being able to be these full-time students and dedicate everything to the school, but it's also like, how can we help them reach the edifice of what they want, right? Which is, again, competing in these tournaments.
Yeah, no, that's all fantastic. What's your favorite part about all that? Because there's so much that goes into supporting these players and giving them an opportunity to play at the highest level. Like, what's your favorite part about that?
Yeah, I absolutely love watching these guys grow. Just as leaders, as students, you see a lot of these students, they come in, and at first, a lot of them, this is their first time in college. They're not really sure, like class schedules. They're not really sure of workload. They're trying to balance it with life and Smash and work and their games, right? So you have a lot of students that are balancing so much that by the time that they're done with about a year, and we've worked with them on organizational management, time management, all of these other life skills, and being like, hey, like, this is how, we're going to be practicing 8 hours a week. You're going to be playing Smash like 8 hours a week. You're going to have homework 8 to 16 hours a week, right? You have class time in between there. So being able to help them get those schedules is so important, and helping them like learn those leadership skills, as well as just seeing like the individual students come in and be those immediate leaders and be able to take on those particular roles. And it's like, okay, well, you're showing that you're being a leader. Let's give you more responsibility. Let's give you, so like you have Tony, who absolutely fantastic student and everything. And a huge shout out to him, just because, again, like he's the captain of this roster in particular. He's kind of one of the students that I go to a lot in this situation. Jerry being another one of like the main captains for the Smash team, and just being someone that I know will be responsible enough that if I reach out to them and I say, hey, we need X, Y, and Z, right, we're going to be able to go from there. So again, just helping these kids just reach those goals is so awesome to see.
I think that's really, really cool. And it definitely, as someone who competed and casted throughout my own college career, it's really cool to hear how you guys are supporting players in kind of finding out that journey, because it can be a tough one to kind of navigate on your own. That being said, you guys are coming in to Rainbow Six on the other side of this. And so another championship for you guys. How are you feeling going into this next one, and having one already under your belt? Do you think the other guys are going to feel some pressure maybe now that there's already a win on this side of the stream?
I don't think they're going to be feeling a lot of pressure. I think they've played this team a couple of times. I'm trying to remember the exact team, but I know they've played them at least once before. So I know they're really excited to get that run back. I know there is a lot of, not like self-pressure, but like, what's the word? They're trying to get like the vendetta, right? They have a score to settle, we'll say, as they did lose in grand finals last year, the Rainbow Six team. So I know Yali, she's watching this, so also shout out to her, just being the coach for the Rainbow team. So again, I think they'll do a good job, and honestly, I think they should take the series.
Yeah, that'll be sick to watch. The set we just saw, I'm sure you were on the edge of your seat at some point. So it was definitely a close set between these two teams. Both teams kind of showed up, and it seems like you're pretty confident in your team for sure. So maybe not on too much on the edge of your seat, but was there maybe a point in the set where like, oh, Tonic Gaming's really keeping it close? You know, UCSC is kind of keeping things close. Was there any time in the set where maybe you thought it might go to a game 3 potentially, like a set 3?
Not really. Like, we were kind of talking in Discord, just in between the individual sets, and like a lot of the times I'll work with the managers or myself, you know, especially for like the Smash stuff. We'll go and we'll research every team that we play. So we knew kind of like what characters they were going to pull out. We looked at a couple of VODs, saw like how they typically wanted to lead and everything. Honestly, like the only way that I could have seen us go into a game 3 was the connection. Then, you know, you had Sonics who came in and 3-0'd what's arguably Tonic's best player. So again, like last semester, I know we did lead Sonics in UCF, and that was like a psychological reason that we did that, because he ended up like 11-0ing them as well on like game number 1. Yeah. So this one, it was more of like, all right, like let's see what we can do. Plus we had some students that had a couple of other things like homework right on the side, so they were trying to do and complete that. So this one we took it a little bit more of, all right, like what are we going to do with counter picks? What are we looking at stages? Let's have a chat about like who's going in where. You saw like Kiwi win in every single time against the Pichu. That was something that we had talked about beforehand, just because she felt very comfortable in that matchup, versus like the only other, we had like Tony in the back for Pichu, but then we were leading Tony in this situation, or we had like Sonics, and then G Extreme even brought out a new character tonight. So like,
yeah, that's what we're thinking.
Yeah, you know, it's like normally he's Steve, Pikachu, and like Roy for a little bit of the time, and normally it's like Pikachu and Steve, and I can't even remember if Steve's still banned in this league. But again, like he brought out Game & Watch, because he even said like, all right, if the connection's going to be a little like delayed, might as well just play Game & Watch and try and like up there, right? Like
that's very true.
Right? So it's playing to the situation,
very
playing
true.
to the characters, playing to the,
very smart.
You know, what we have to work with. And yeah, so I mean, you know, these kids are very, very confident. They go to a lot of these tournaments. They have a lot of experience just kind of playing. And so I wouldn't say I was nervous at all.
That is awesome. It's great to hear. I think that's about all the time we have for the interview. But before we let you go, is there anything you want to shout out? Any last things you want to say before we head off?
No, I mean, you know, we're excited to continue to be playing in NACE. You know, you'll see us back next semester, which we're excited to be. And, you know, you're going to be seeing us too. There's a big LAN that's coming up in Texas next week. So excited to be going to that. We've got all these guys going to those tournaments too. There's like a big singles event for it. So we're excited. You're going to keep seeing Fisher. You're going to keep seeing us playing in Smash and, you know, getting more big name pickups.
That is great to hear. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and congratulations again to Fisher College for coming out on top 2-0 in this Open Premier final.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Yeah. A big dub for them, and you could tell, I mean,
he was
all
not
the confidence
nervous.
in the
He
world.
was not cool as a cucumber, man.
I wasn't even done with the question. He was already like,
no.
I already shaking his head. Not even, I'm like, all right, I guess not on the seat. Very firmly planted, fully using the entirety of the seat as intended. Not surprised. I mean, yeah, Fisher College, clearly one of the strongest collegiate Smash rosters, period, out there right now, and have shown that. Yeah, we see Fisher, the likes of Fisher, season after season. Would not be surprised to see them back again in this same scenario next season. Yeah, hats off to him.
Yeah, and that being said, that's it. The Open Premier final has concluded. Fisher College coming away with a 2-0 victory, so congratulations to them one last time. But our time has come to a close for now. I've been Nurse, and I've been joined, very privileged, by Dak to be here. Honestly, it's been a great time. I love whenever we get to cast together. It's always a good time.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely awesome. Privilege, honor, and a lot of fun to cast with you as well. We had a lot of great casters throughout the season. So shouts to everyone who worked on this, obviously production as well in the back, making this all happen. And to all of our teams throughout the season. It was great to be here, and I'm looking forward to the next one. And I'll throw it back to you for the final sign off.
I mean, that is Smash Ultimate, the Open Premier, coming to a conclusion. But don't go anywhere, guys, because Rainbow Six Siege is right on the other end. So it's us gone for now, but we'll see you on the other side.
Another NACE Open Premier Final, and another one that has Fisher in it. They're vying for their 4th NACE Open Championship. I'm Time to Light. Join alongside me here for Rainbow Six Siege, here for Fisher, is fellow. It's Fisher against Vespa, or the Virginia Tech Esports Association. What are we in for? It's a best of 3, and one I think Fisher may have a little bit more of a lock on.
I'd have to say, at least for Fisher College, we have a lot more experience casting them, not just in NACE, but also inside of other collegiate leagues as well. They were pretty well known back in the T3 scene, just about last year, and they slowly began to integrate into the same 5-man roster of Beezer, Maple, Capybara, and Robe. Gohan wasn't originally part of this main 5. They had their coach Yali sub for a little while, but then Gohan was able to implement himself into the new core 5 for Fisher College. But we've casted them for quite a long time, and they've always been that upper echelon group inside of the collegiate scene, hence why we have that 6-0 scoreline, whereas for Virginia Tech, we don't have as much intel as we could relay the same compared to Fisher.
We also have Nyx, I think, is the most standout player for Virginia Tech, alongside Kylak, Word 6 and below. I saw Nyx playing through a few different qualifiers. I know he actually played Xenon Quals with Beezer, who was subbing in for him, alongside some of the Columbia College guys. You were talking about Fisher and just being on that upper echelon. They're just barely scraping by. Quick look at our map bans. Oregon, the first pick for Fisher. Chalet, first for Vespa, with Theme Park to be decided. The 2 bans you won't see, since this is a 7-map graphic, are Club and Cafe. They were banned in order by Fisher and Vespa, respectively.
And already, we've got the game ready. Tends to take quite a long time to have these matches start, but luckily, we already had all 10 players in lobby before we even got to our lovely camera, so no need to wait on Oregon. We can get map number 1 over and out with as quickly as possible. What?
A game that was scheduled for 9 p.m. Eastern
and
has operator bans going through at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's absurd. I can't believe it. All right.
This is an anomaly.
Well, hell is frozen over. That's absurd. Alrighty. Well, Fisher and Vespa here on Oregon. Nook and Flores off the board early. Nothing too outstanding. I think a Flores ban bodes a little bit better for Fisher, though, in their attack.
At least it allows a lot more deployable shields to be active and on the board. With that Nook being removed, you probably don't need to have as big of an emphasis playing below if you are to roam on the basement, as you're not going to have to worry about as big of a lurking threat on the attack. So all these bans, pretty good given the context of this map. But with a Flores ban and not having the Azami removed, I could imagine we'll be seeing a lot of extensions with her in play, especially on bomb sites like Kids in Dorms. So hopefully Vespa proves me correct, and luckily I am. I do my job correctly from time to time. This is one of those examples, luckily.
Yeah, I think the consistency we'll see from Fisher as well is a little bit more of a a notable part of their play style. One big conversation about them is, you were talking about them being at that upper echelon. They've always been the upper, 10 teams in collegiate, basically since they started. But their problem has always been reaching the top of everything. Passing Akron, passing Ohio State, and this is the newest bug. I have never seen this before.
Oh, yeah, there's just no operator icons. You know, they come with something new like every day. It never ceases to amaze me, this game, and it's lack of stability for its visuals.
Me when Rainbow Six has more bugs than content. All right, well, that's wild. But the conversation I wanted to bring up, especially around the just scraping the upper echelons, was they played Akron in the NECC semifinals, and they lost in a close matchup, sure, but it was still a loss for them. And one I think they want back, but that just shows how close they are, yet how far they still may be.
Well, hopefully they can potentially push past that gap we just talked about with Akron and maybe having a little bit more success here today with Vespa, as they are going for that kitchen extension we talked about just earlier on the broadcast. If you see a small tower over attack, which Fisher is not opting for, that kitchen extension can waste a lot more time and resources compared to if there was no extension there at all. But for Fisher, their idea is that they want to get master control as quickly as possible and have someone push into Armory so they can have this nice pincer inside of the trophy room area and probably get that closet wall opened up just shortly as well. And with them having both the Ace and Maverick, if they wanted to, they could even have someone rotate into Attic or at least the T3 to get that back Attic wall opened up so they can have a really nice 1-2 punch when dealing with anyone over an Attic properly.
At least we'll start to open things up. The final Selma, but I believe Impact Trick has landed. Yeah, Kylak gets it through the floorboards, and good enough. Vespa does not have an entryway in towards that main wall, and a big opener for this Vespa defense as they just hold long term. No easy way in for Fisher on that far side, and a 2 versus 4, nothing too ideal for them either. Word here with a shotgun out, trying to set themselves up, but I don't think there's an easy way in. This is odd, and I don't think there's a quick finish for Fisher either.
And at 30 to go, really tough position now for Fisher to continue to be inside of. Robe just kind of trapped inside of Attic here, all by his lonesome, as his teammate is now drop dead as well. He's the last one standing, and all that Vespa really has to do here is just wait for the timer to burn away. Robe expecting a potential crossfire. He'll try to maybe pivot around, play underneath, and work his way back up either the Armory or White Stairs, but with a minute left to go, sure, he's got plenty of time, but Vespa, I mean, they just continue to set themselves up in a better position to face this person, not alone. Robe taking a bit of damage down by that player inside of Z hallway, and yeah, this just does not seem to be that great of a position whatsoever for Fisher. You've got Robe just still walking in blind. Word is in an off angle with a shotgun playing prone, so he's most likely to get dropped down in the next couple of seconds, and hopefully we can fix this issue where there is also no kill feed to any of us, but still, that does not impede Vespa from scoring round 1 as a victory.
Yeah, no kill feed, no operator icons, and no name icons.
That's a first.
From up above. The trifecta of problems. Apologies, by the way, we're trying to get things fixed in the background. Maybe it's a rehost problem, maybe it's just a single server issue. While we get that fixed, though, a look into that round where Fisher just found no easy way in. A kill upon kill upon kill going the way of Vespa and just tearing apart that offensive setup. Sure, their top floor split was as expected, but not a whole lot went in their favor. I think the notable part was the fact that they tried the exact same thing they almost always do when I cast them on a top floor attack of Oregon, where they go Maverick plus somebody over towards Attic, and then Ace to try and open up the main master wall. It just didn't work. Vespa's done their homework, and you could see it off the bat. Also, I believe at least 2 of our 3 problems are fixed, and I saw no team damage in prep phase also in the top right. So maybe our 3rd problem also solved. We'll find out as soon as somebody dies.
Fingers crossed, right? Fisher College maybe looking to up the ante a little bit in this round, just off a lineup they're running. You've got Beezer, who can just Gara hook probably in through, I would assume, big tower. Make sure you can walk down backstairs later on. While majority of Fisher are opting to go right through blue bunker, but there's a C4 just waiting for them.
C4 goes through, but it actually gets booped off the shield. It doesn't find anything to land on, and Maple's actually able to repel a C4. Doesn't actually check the back corner of the shield, but doesn't have to. Finds the melee, but doesn't find the down, and Kylak able to shotgun him down. And just like that, Fisher is evaporated as they walk through. Beezer's in a 1 versus 4 on the Amaru on a bottom floor site. And if anything could have gone more wrong for Fisher, I think they would be hard-pressed to find it.
Another 1vx situation, 1v4 specifically, just like we saw last round. And Beezer, this time being the one all by his lonesome with 2 minutes to think about his next few actions here. Stunned to blind himself inadvertently as he now walks down through Laundry Staircase. Toxic Babe that agreed him as well by Kylak, still having 2 extra in their back pocket. This just seems like a long waiting game now for Fisher, as probably all their dead teammates are talking amongst themselves, figuring out what they can improve on going in round number 3, where it's going to either be dining room or meeting room as a bomb site, while the rest of Vespa could also talk about what they could potentially be bringing out for next round, since there isn't really much left for them here in round 2.
Welcome to the first 2-minute tactical pause in NACE Starleague history. Beezer's just crouch walking through sight, finds a first, sure, albeit a down, but a first nonetheless, but Six quickly able to clean up. And Fisher, I said they would be hard-pressed to find something that could have gone worse for them. The only possibility of something going worse in their fight was the C4 actually landing and not just being booped off the side of the Blitz shield. Not a whole lot going well that round, and already 2 rounds. I had my over-under at 3.5 for trash talk in all chat. Feels bad.
Nyx is cooking Beezer. This is the funniest set of interactions I have seen in a little while. But can't really fault them if you are a team that continues to bring out the same plays over and over and over again, and your opponents do bookwork on you. You can have predictable rounds like that where you're expecting almost everyone to barge in through blue bunker, and you swiftly deny it because you just have that anticipation. The only real, I guess, issue that Vespa might have had could have been Beezer, but I mean, they killed everyone else, so it just did not matter with 1:40 left in a 1v4 situation. And oddly enough, we're seeing dining room in play by Vespa. It's not that favored in the North American region, but it's still not a horrible site, don't get me wrong. It's just the main issue is how quickly you can get small tower control and how that could lead you into securing the bomb site of dining room. But with the way that Vespa are extending, they're probably hoping they can still hold on to shower for as long as they can to help assist against anyone pushing in from dining room. So that's at least been thought of by Vespa, so it shouldn't be a major issue. But the lineup that Fisher are bringing out, I would assume they're going to be very plant-focused with the help of that Montaigne.
You brought up the lack of depth for the Fisher playbook, and I think when you're a fairly decent team that is streamed on a fairly consistent basis, you can be quickly caught out if you don't have that depth of playbook. And it looks like Fisher wants to go for another possible rush. Sound Q is a possibility towards Green Hall, but they aren't immediately going for the kill. You can see, I believe that's Word sitting in the close corner of Green, just waiting for the walk-in, but isn't given the opportunity. Beezer is playing Montaigne. I don't know what the heck happened in the Fisher camp, but I have never seen this guy without a primary gun. And he's dead to a cap can.
Okay.
Well, that was quick. So that happened.
Really no words to describe that, but all right. Your Montaigne is now gone. Kylak has been traded off, but another cap can trap, this time onto Gohan. You can't make this up, Dan. I think the most success I've seen from these EDGs in quite some time being wielded by Six, who's currently 7-0. Really being the backpack of this team comp, and Maple through at least the ceiling is going to connect, finds 1 trade on the Word, but still an even man count here. Vespa, they're not really in a horrible position. Sure, it would be better for them if they had their smoke alive, but they still have a C4, a couple of impact grenades as well, and those coveted Evil Eyes. So in all reality, there is still a load of plant denial that Fisher have to worry about, and this top floor, which luckily Robe will clear out as Bella will be dropped 6 feet under with help of that G36C. So the man advantage also back in the favor of Fisher, but there is still so much denial that could be used against him if a plant were to go down.
You were talking about the 2 Capcan trap kills. For about a quarter of a second, 6 had as many Capcan trap kills as the entire Fisher team did kills, period. And a swing from Nyx, almost lining up 2, but is only able to do about half damage onto Maple. A 1 versus 2 for 6, but the proactive swing will drop Maple down. A 1 versus 1 between him and Robe, who's stuck in towards Kitchen, and I do not believe has the diffuser in their grasp. No, they don't. It's over towards that small tower, and Robe wants to try and grab it. The problem is they have a single drone, of which is not in a good spot. Their position is more than known, and 6 is just happy to just play patiently. The problem is there's a yellow ping, his position known, but he finds Robe and had no idea where he was. A gamble shot? What a shot.
Pre-fire to seal the deal. A quadra kill, I believe, on the round for 6, 2 with Capcan traps and 2 with his primary weapon, and Nyx to unfortunately steal the buddy ace, but it happens, or at least steal the proper ace, my mistake. But regardless, the lack of intel by Fisher in round number 3 really sold them short, losing 2 entire bodies to Capcan traps, not even taking engagements. It didn't matter that their trades were on the mark because they were always trying to play pickup in round number 3 on the tertiary bomb site you are expected to win as the attacking half. And with Vespa still having control of shower, still having a decent presence inside of dining room, you could play for that, 2-for-1 contact swing, still find another trade, and although Fisher had intel, they still had to make the first move in that 1v1, which, when you're the defense, you're always looking to wait for the attack to do something before you eventually open your hand to them, allowing Vespa to find 3 straight so far in this first half, with Fisher really having no proper response against anything that they've been thrown at.
The extent of their response was in the previous round, and that was, again, based off of just playing catch-up. They can't actually find a foothold in a round if they don't have time to build up their own attack. These are dying in the first 30 seconds to an inanimate object that was just casually placed on the side of a door frame. The follow-up, I believe, across on towards Gohan as well, who didn't clear it just the same. And more problems being found here from Fisher without all that many solutions at the same time. And Vespa's happy to just play consistent. They've been casually calm on that defensive side, and most importantly, they've been playing around information. No over-aggressive willy-nilly swings, except for this one. Gohan not able to find the kills though, so it's not punished. And Vespa still with the 5v5.
Only a matter of time though for another engagement is bound to erupt here for either Vespa or Fisher. Gohan trying to close the gap against this Jaeger, playing down below in Kitchen, even having intel to try to assist him, and slowly but surely he's making it a little bit closer towards that part of the map, but there's a rotate now made for Bello to fall away. And they even have the Malusi and Mozzie not too far behind as well. So if someone were to get into contact with an engagement, I would imagine a trade is set up for Vespa. And they're already wasting a load of time off the clock here for Fisher, as sure, they've made a decent amount of ground inside a small tower, but not clearing out that extension is really going to bite them in the late round, despite them trying to go for more of a direct approach here from the big window.
Problem is they're also overextending there and not playing all that much off the back of the extension they've picked up. They wasted a lot of time to gain real estate, and they're not doing a whole lot with the real estate they've now gained. They're picking a different avenue of attack, which is understandable, but it's a little late to make that call in my personal opinion. Below is happy to just wait down below, over towards meeting, pun intended, and casually wait for the push-in from Fisher, who still has barely entered the building. Maple is taking some proactive fights over towards Z, looking for a fight, but Nyx is just waiting in the freezer stairs. Opening kill, 1 minute and 45 into the round, and Fisher don't have all that much to show for it.
Rava now gone. 6.
Wow.
Finally shut down. The tail end of that magazine being just enough for Gohan to make it that 4 versus 4, but a minute remains now. And Fisher, like you mentioned, they're still just kind of twiddling their thumbs. They've got a bunch of Candelas to play off of, but with someone having the ability to play down below, if Word could potentially brew something up here with that C4, or even Nyx causing some chaos, this could be massive for Vespa. 1 for Nyx and a second collected now by Word. That SMG-11 ripping Gohan to shreds. Now leaves just Beezer and Cappy, but as I say so, Nyx finds a triple kill, leaving just Cappy now sitting outside the big window, right where they started in this round, wondering, what the hell am I supposed to do in another 1v4? This is like the 3rd one we've seen, and it's been only 4 rounds, fittingly so. Seems like Fisher will opt to go for a timeout heading around number 5, but it might be just a little too late in this matchup, Dan, as Vespa have been just mopping the floor with their opponents.
The benefit is there's still a couple rounds to play for Fisher's attack, and if you discern what's going wrong, you find something that you can change, anything in your favor, that's when you have some way of bringing back one or two of these rounds, and a 4-2 half on the attacking side of Oregon is not unheard of. If you're going to call a timeout, now's the time to do it. If you called it any later, when you're down 5-0 or even 6-0 or even 5-1 for that matter, that's when I start to question why wait so long. But now's the time. Yali can hop into the ears of Fisher and figure out, or at least tell them, what she thinks is not going their way. And it has to be something. For starters, opening kills. Secondly, real estate control off of those opening kills. They have absolutely nothing to work with, more often than not in these rounds. And I talked about it last round. I'll bring it up now. In that previous round, they spent a minute and change trying to take from small tower over. The extent of what they gained from that small tower pressure was showers, which is basically given by default, dining, which is also basically given by default, and some of the main hall control towards the bottom of White Stairs. They finally try and push off of it, but then they didn't clear freezer, die from there. A follow-up is there towards the green hall, and then after trying to gain kitchen control, they immediately are taken care of from a reset flank from below, courtesy of Nyx and Word, and just did nothing to deal with.
Really seems like everyone's trying to be on the same page, but when putting it into actions and not just words, that's where things kind of go south. Especially taking a look at that kitchen attack, everyone's on the same page of, all right, let's go drone, Gohan in, let's have him secure that entry, but you're not really getting anything else accomplished in the round besides having someone, bait a little bit outside a big window. Instead, having someone try to push in at the same time, either through, main lobby or garage, for example, even someone going down green hall at any given moment, that would be a much better idea, just to have someone else kind of back up Gohan who isn't either just droning him in or playing directly behind him, allowing someone else from Vespa to just watch the same doorway and kind of expect the funnel. Fisher now opting to go into that timeout, like you mentioned, not a bad time in terms of round count, but now I'm interested to see how Fisher are going to try and attack this base of 4 bomb site. Clearly going for something polar opposite to what we saw back in round number 2, because that rush was completely flatlined by Vespa. So now I would assume they're going to opt to go for just a plain old, first floor, maybe like small tower side clear, where they're going to get all the hatches opened up and then maybe have someone rotate down below to go blue bunker. That's what I would assume happens, as they don't really have a lot of operators that are fantastic for clearing out a roam that could be on the top floor. And also with the way that Vespa were defending, they didn't have a lot of roamers. You can see that right now. The closest they have to a roamer is 6, who's kind of playing by the top of Laundry Stairs. And he's even going to barricade that off. So there is really no roam presence currently by Vespa and Fisher. They already have the bunk door opened up so they could play into that spot of the map later, and they're already securing big tower. So I can imagine they at least get the meeting hatch opened up and maybe rotate somewhere else once they realize the top and middle floor are open.
One thing I'm also looking for out of Fisher here is a combination of utility. We usually see this in the game of Valorant, where you combine 2 different agents' utility and say, oh yeah, you put, Fade C's plus Paint Shells arrays, easy kill. But in this game, it transfers over to utility denial and then utility usage at the same time, where you have Cappy, who can bring in the Thatcher and deny the ADSs of any of their efficacy with a follow-up nade from Gohan. Just like that, you can immediately take care of anybody who's in that vicinity. If they see a Jaeger here, even with the Brava, you can hack out the ADSs, deny a possible C4 later in the round if it is thrown through. There are 2 available, or a Toxic Babe for that matter. But the utility combination is really what I want to see from Fisher with this lineup. Nyx is just going to walk up, find an opening onto Gohan, and then back away with their life. Gohan's dead. That nade combination's now gone. Now looking for a follow-up, may very well be able to find it. Maple still wants to try and take the fight, but less than ideal on that one. Will back away, as will Nyx.
No grenades left now for Fisher College, and they're once again staring at that same brick wall. Got someone waiting outside blue bunk. You've got Beezer potentially trying to help clear out the person who's by that barrel doorway, but little to no progress has been made by Fisher College in this triumph. You still have someone playing by backstairs, that being Maple, hoping to maybe close that distance, but with the single wall being opened up and someone now going back to pillar, it's not likely they can walk down these stairs. They're just hoping they could maybe just hold a cutoff angle in case someone tries to push into their line of sight. A minute remains. Fisher's still at that man disadvantage, and they're still just trying to make a spearhead into this round. But once again, Vespa, they are just refusing to budge, forcing them to maybe get desperate. I would imagine they try to just drop down the hatch last second and really hope for the best. Maybe that kill by Maple onto Bello could be the final rally call in these next 40 seconds, but that only evens us here, Dan.
And the 4v4 not favoring Fisher by any means, a significant lack of utility. Final 2 smokes with a single flash remaining, and EMPs if they can even do anything. Kylak walks straight through the smoke but can't find the kill. Robe with the 417 somehow survives the Mossberg, and everything collapsed for Vespa. 20 seconds now left on the clock. The MX4 Storm for 6. All they have left finds a follow-up kill looking for a third, but Robe on just a sliver of health wins 2 separate fights they had no business of even being included on. And Fisher somehow win their first round.
Kylak, I'm just as surprised as you. Robe having plot armor that round just survives a buckshot blast from point blank range. But even then, the rest of that round went pretty darn well for Fisher College, even adding some attention to detail, realizing how futile it would be to just focus on a drop from E-Box and maybe like Blue Bunker / back stairs. They also had Beezer try to rotate to Laundry just to have someone lurking in that round to just give more options for them in case a few gunfights don't go their way, which luckily that was not the case, even against the M590, which is considered one of the best shotguns in the game currently. Vespa, now losing this bomb site, they realize, all right, we don't really feel like going to tertiary bomb site. Fisher have the biggest chance of winning. We're going to probably expect Fisher to run a fairly similar lap to what they had in round number 5, and we'll probably just bring out more denial to stop them. And they're kind of doing so. They've got a couple of C4s, a few deployable shields. I believe almost the exact same lineup.
It is.
As what we saw last round. Yeah, I figured that much. I just couldn't remember off the top of my head if they had a mute or not. So, I mean, I would suppose just don't be as aggressive as you were last round, and we could probably see this go the way of Vespa, because in their early round, once they made that gamble play to get an entry kill, the rest of that passivity was really good by them to make sure Fisher could not find any openings until they eventually did at the last 40 seconds.
And we're trying the same thing they did last time we saw them go over towards the top floor. Just sitting in the corner now. Instead, we'll think better of it. You said no changes for Vespa. That is correct. Carbon copy of their operator lineup. Fisher is making a couple changes. Only 2. Robe will go from the Twitch on towards the Jackal. I don't know why you give up the 417, but you do you. Try and discern whatever roams there are, which there weren't in the previous round. And Maple is going from the Brava on towards the Sledge, understanding the Brava may not have found as much payoff in the previous round. At best, you probably just pick the Capital if you want to keep the same gun, but instead they will go for the nades and the L8, which is completely understandable. There shouldn't be all that much on the roam for Vespa here, and, well, with that scan, they will find out the Wardens on the bottom floor, as is the rest of Vespa, and just like that, in the first 50 seconds they've discerned, they have the entire first and second floors themselves.
That'll allow them to get the hatches opened up fairly soon. Some rotates being made between both kitchen and security, just making it a lot faster for everyone to kind of, focus on where they really want to execute from in the final round. Even if they're across the map, it's going to take them way less time to go from point A to point B if required in round number 6. Final hatch by E-Box is opened up by those Habana pellets, so be a little more challenging to maybe hold down through pillar if you get someone in backstairs to put down even more pressure. But the major difference here for Fisher College is with their extra emphasis on grenades this round, they can even try to push their way in through freezer, having some stuns to burn through a couple ADSs, a final nade tossed out by Gohan, but I believe it's caught at just the last seconds. That shield will remain intact towards that soft wall. Gohan now in a bit of a tricky spot because of that. So maybe because of that lack of shield destruction, we could see something, attempted differently here by Fisher, but with no one really moving around to change things up, and with them losing that first gunfight by the hand of Word, just once again playing prone with a shotgun, I'm not really too sure what Fisher could have in store for Vespa with their lack of secondary utility.
The thing I'm really looking for Fisher is actually playing with the EMPs. They've brought the Thatcher in back-to-back rounds just to do very little with it. The Mute now finding out that drone, and Bees are very lucky to be alive, re-swinging with 5 bullets in the SMG-11. Word with Balls of Steel finding a double kill in towards Laundry. Looking for another, as Cappy's now going to try and take the fight with the L8 of her own, and she'll lose as well. A buddy ace and a full house of frags, below with 2, and Word with 3 in style. Vespa make it 5-1 at the half.
An incredible first showing by them, clearly expecting what their opponents have in store for them. And even so, that small lack of, I guess, communication or second thoughts going into the round, it did kind of mess up Fisher, because you talked about that lack of usage of the EMPs, having to burn through all of their flashes and grenades all at the same time. And even then, with those ADS still remaining intact, there was no foothold made by Fisher once again, which was kind of a bad habit. A consistency that we saw by them in their attacks was just a lack of map control that they kind of needed to implement their plan A. We saw that even all the way at the beginning of round number 1 when they were trying to attack kids and bomb site up go for here in round number 7. So hopefully their defensive half is a little more favorable towards them, because if not, we might see a Chalet before maybe even 10 p.m. Eastern. It's not even 9:30 yet, Dan.
Yeah, we
may
see
Oregon
a fairly quick finish
run
to Oregon. I think both teams realized, oh, this is a missed selection. Nobody actually wants to watch people play Oregon, so we'll just move on to the best of 2 and just play for round differential. The benefit, by the way, if this goes to a third map, side selection is based off of round differential in the first 2. So, with Vespa winning 7-1, Fisher would have to 7-0 them, assuming this does end 7-1, in map 2, just to get the benefit of round differential on a map where round differential kind of means something. Also, Maple's dead. It's been 25 seconds.
And not a single entry has been won by Fisher. Even round 1, where we didn't even know who was the person winning that gunfight. We could figure out really who died, and it was not someone on Vespa. The fact that we have seen 7 rounds in a row where Vespa has been the one to win that opening gunfight in almost every single round they've won after it definitely is not reassuring for Fisher College, just in a general standpoint, let alone the map they've opted to pick out against their opponents of Vespa. But it doesn't really seem like Fisher seems all too concerned about it. They've got a nice crossfire established between both Gohan and Beezer, playing in security door and top freezer door, respectively. Vespa just does not care. They're getting vertical down. Kylak, spots the legs of Cappy, but cannot react in time to eliminate the Jaeger. They'll remain alive for the time being. But Vespa really making quick work of this flooring. And with the reinforcement over by security wall, I mean, Gohan he can't do anything about this.
I was wondering why they weren't trying to clear Gohan from kitchen. Then I realized, oh wait, there's reinforced walls there. Nobody can do anything about either one. Nade being prepped here. This should miss. Wow. Doesn't, and does about 75. No, that's almost 100 damage, because Bathrobe's a 3 health. That's a wild nade to not even find a down. Nice throw, by the way, 6. A sick one, if you will. But Vespa's attack, so much more cohesive, and together at that. 6 actually sees Gohan, downs him, but cannot find the follow-up. Build-A-Beezer just walking around, finding the refrag and the pickup, as Gohan will survive to fight another day.
Secondary hard breach almost deployed by Kylak. I'll think better of it, though, just still trying to maybe work a little bit of extra vertical, making sure no one can play inside of kids. If that remains a position not guarded by the defense, trying to push in through big window might be a little more feasible, especially having all 4 Candelas still alive in this round down.
For Gohan down below, look for the walk-in. Below somehow lives through another Mossberg. Gohan is robbed. Talk about retribution, courtesy of the game of Rainbow Six Siege. Cappy looking for the swing, though, will deny the diffuser plant. And the most important part of that is the time is now still favoring Fisher. Word can't safely walk in, but now can with the kill onto Gohan below. And Cappy's left alone, finds a 3K, looking for a 4th, and the clutch at that. Word at least initiating that diffuse plant, looking for Cappy to walk through, of which she will. Still looking for the frag, of which she'll find, and Fisher's clutch keeps them on top as they pick up a 2nd and really initiate themselves here on Oregon.
Impeccable patience by Cappy as well, able to play off that natural cover so well, and even use those openings against Vespa, kind of punishing them for just planting completely exposed to where Cappy was playing, and also being able to isolate both the player by top white and the person diffusing 1-for-1. In that 2vx, it might have been the brighter idea to go for a kill, but with them still being so separate, and with Cappy theoretically having to go and cross basically this big line of death, with someone being at the top of white stairs, didn't really, proc off in Vespa's mind that could be used against them. And luckily with Cappy winning that 50-50 gunfight and then securing the player who was trying to plant, the 2nd round win for Fisher. But they cannot just rely on hero plays to get them a map win here on their own selection of Oregon, then moving into Chalet. Everyone has to be firing on all cylinders, and so far, that hasn't really been the case for Fisher, whereas for Vespa, they have one major standout player, and that's so far 6 with 12 kills, and everyone else is either, right behind them with 7 or 6, or just kind of holding their weight at 3 and 3.
You can combine any 2 players in this lobby, except for Nyx and Word, and they do better, or as good as 6. I didn't see Nyx at the bottom right of the screen. Nyx, a casual standout player as well for Vespa, who's been consistent on both now the defensive and into the attacking side. Previous round, a little bit of a caveat to that conversation where Fisher really just had Cappy go off, and an important pickup as well, because if you go down 6-1, that's basically the map. Finding 5 straight rounds on Oregon defense is already difficult. When you have to do so against map point, it's even more so. And an odd position now for Vespa to be in, just the same, where they have to defend their lead and attack at the same time. They may fall into a little bit of complacency, and I feel like that could hurt them more often than not. I also am pretty sure Nyx just missed it. Yeah.
Oh well. Better luck next time. Vespa just about now clearing out the remnants of this roam. There's still someone on the top floor that we call tail of him. Yeah, Gohan is just he's big chillin'. Don't know why the warden out of everyone here is roaming instead of someone like Happy as Jaeger, but I digress. Gohan tends to be a formidable gunner, but in the right environment. I guess Oregon really hasn't been his cup of tea recently, but round number 8, he can maybe spark up in life just a bit. Bello, with the help of some intel though, he's very much aware someone's playing on that top floor. He's waiting for Gohan to make that first move, but he won't really budge all too much. There's a bit of chip damage, then just falls back to that top floor. Some hatches get opened up now by Vespa as well, beginning to brew up this execute for the basement floor, but still having to worry about Gohan. That is going to be a major concern going into this next minute 20, because at any given moment he could spring up into action, but seems like he jumps the gun on that department, maybe looking for an air jab. He's a little bit blindsided, and Bella will punish him for that. Vespa once again scoring the opening gunfight as a win.
8 in a row now for all of you who are keeping track, and Fisher yet to find an opening duel in their favor. At a bare minimum, do still have some real estate control to work with, that being really the site and the site alone. They've been looking for C4, brings out utility when they have to take a gunfight, and somehow survive through both, from dirt as well as from the main stairs on the backside. But Meeple's still happy to just play here, and is somehow still able to find a kill as well. Below with a double, but Word making up for where Nyx was lost. It's a 4 versus 2 for Vespa, as they're looking to get the diffuser down. They still have to contend with the smoke and the smoke's weapon just the same.
Ooh, nice shot through the wall by Robe. 2 versus 2. Another crossfire established. Once again, a pretty big trope here for Fisher so far in this matchup. The final toxic can now deployed here by the smoke as another Candela is rang out across the map. Kylak looking through this huge opening through the single wall, trying to find a kill
They don't know about
to make
Cappy.
things happen, but things look rather difficult here. Fisher nonetheless is, they might just try to open up the single wall and try to avoid the toxic bait, but finally it dissipates. Bello might try to go for this plant, but he's expecting someone down across by Freezer, but still goes for it. It's not a bait and switch. Quickly procced enough. There's Kylak with 1, swings to the doorway, but Cappy still sits close, and Fisher will hold on for yet another round.
Perfect patience as well from both Cappy and Robe, playing around both utility and the fact that you had the crossfire setup. There was no safe space on either site where there could be a plant to go down because of where both were holding, and that the reinforcement was covering off elbow. Both were safe from basically any direction other than Freezer itself. And that's not where Vespa was by any means. An important double back-to-back from Robe as well, playing around their utility while still fragging just the same, led them to that patient position to build it into frags, and most importantly in the later stages, the round win, where they just discounted Cappy to sit in that Freezer corner, and the lack of information came back to bite Vespa in the later stages of the round.
I have to say the teamwork much better overall by Fisher. And hopefully they can continue to improve on that team play going against Vespa. As you mentioned it, the complacency could be a problem for them. Hopefully that will not be the case, as they were looking incredibly strong in the first half and have kept things, fairly even so far, going into round number 7 through 9. So hopefully they don't, steer off the course completely. Getting your opponent's map pick would be a huge boon for them going into Chalet, albeit Fisher also have a lot of experience on Chalet as well. So it is, on paper, 2 fairly close maps and heading in a theme park, which could honestly just be a roll of the dice depending on how both teams feel going in that decider map if we get there. But now, for the first time in this match, we're seeing meeting room and kitchen in play for Fisher College, as Vespa were opting to go to dining room as many times as they opted to. And that is a wild Talon shield, just the biggest cutoff angle in the world for Oregon to make sure no one can try to rotate back through split, I suppose. Maybe giving a little bit more room for Bello to hop in, and having those track swingers, no one can swing him wide by the Z hallway. So kind of an interesting strat, don't get me wrong, for Vespa, but it seems to be a lot of attention to detail for one little thing.
It seems like they figured out exactly what they want to do, though. Vertical alongside the main walk-in, they want to try and take main full control and look if they can deny the top-down control just the same. The problem is, if you cannot push in here early, you're going to run into significantly more problems than you could solve. Impact EMPs are going to take care of this mute jammer, and then they're going to pop that exothermic and rush it right off the bat. This should be a complete send from Vespa, and Fisher has to be aware of it. Cappy in a pretty good position, holding a very long cutoff from the bracket's angle, and they still have top floor control on the Fisher defense. But a defuse is still going down, and there's nothing they can do about it. Bees are dropping, looking for a frag that is dropped by the M249, but look a second, I believe, found it, and a situation for Vespa.
There's Gohan. The backside plant has gone down, though, so that refrag is nice. A little helpful, even, too, having some backup by Maple, but they're both so low in HP. Nyx with that P90 will just tear through Maple. Kylak will find another, and Bello with the final kill to the counter. Vespa scoring map point on Oregon after a really well-coordinated plant attempt over by the backside of meeting through those split walls. Fisher, I mean, they were aware of it, but it just took far too long to react. And even then, Vespa were anticipating the avenues that Fisher were trying to push in from. So in the end, it did not matter.
Vespa also did their homework on that setup as well. They know where their weaknesses lie when they try that very open diffuse plant. And the answer is basically the walk-in from main door, of which they opened to hold the cross, and the walk across from meeting towards stage as well, of which they held with the M249. And when an LMG has a 2x and isn't nerfed because it really hasn't been played all that much, the M249, it's kind of a cracked weapon, if I do say so myself, and it was played to near perfection by Below, who did so exactly as they needed to.
Really begs the question of, what weapon they're going to try to nerf next to their 1.5 or 2x optic. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. It's kind of like an irreversible cycle. Just continues to happen in the game. I think I saw like a tweet about that happening too later or earlier today. My mistake. But I digress. Moving back into kids in dorms. Seems like the should have changed a couple of things up, but not anything, too noticeable. They probably won't be putting as much emphasis into extending in the first floor, as they have a lot more utility just focused on wasting time. But that doesn't mean they're going to be forced to not roam at all. You've got Maple still kind of just moping around the map, maybe looking for a bit of drones to destroy, then kind of moving away to dry up some of that intel. And Vespa opting to go for roughly the same attacking clear. They're starting over in small tower, maybe getting some intel by dining room and kitchen, allowing Kylak to push in and get some vertical down. And I believe now, Maple has moved down into the basement, so they could maybe try to flank over through the freezer stairs once they realize there's someone inside of kitchen, and they've got backup by someone down the Z hallway. So there's definitely a lot of potential here for team play, which has been slowly getting better for Fisher.
Collective gunfights for Vespa has also worked out fairly well for them. They aren't trying to take care of what they can't do so early on. Nyx somehow finds an opening onto Gohan, and 6 takes a decent bit of damage to a Mossberg through the floor, even though Mossbergs to the face from point blank don't do enough damage. But yeah, that's a Rainbow Six Siege moment and a half. Feet are seen as Rogue runs away, but he's safe for the time being. But still an odd setup for Vespa, where they completely discount the freezer and security hold in its entirety and just focus on the site. And it works. It forces Fisher out into the open, most importantly, out into Word's line of sight, and he finds one, but Kylak is returned upon. Maple has brought at least one back. Looking for a follow-up, will find that as well. The problem is, the Diffuser's going down. They have not counted for the straight walk-in, and it's worked out near perfectly. Diffuse will go down. The down return is coming through, but Word holding from the double window, looking for the frag, may not be able to find it. They've run out of ammo with the F2, and the swing from Rogue finds the kill. Nyx is left alone in a 1 versus 2, does not have any EE1Ds remaining, and needs to try and take the fight, but the problem is the time just not counting in their favor, and the hold is good enough. Fisher caught out, but catch Vespa out just the same, and return around back the other way.
That lack of coverage over the big window really did Vespa in the final moments of that round. Sure, they had a few bodies relegated to that position, but only having one person after that plan had gone down as the Ying was kind of that sacrifice to get the ball rolling for that post-plant proper. Didn't leave many options for Vespa in that 1v2 once they had the diffuser intact on the ground, burning away at that timer against Fisher. And now they get to go back down the laundry and supply, which again, they were able to stop that execute coming in through at least E-Box specifically, and a couple of pressure points over by Pillar trying to get near that single wall. They were able to deny that just fine by having someone play pretty close to the bomb chassis with the help of those Toxic Babes, and having, I believe it was Cappy on the Jaeger, like they are just now in round number 11, playing over by Freezer to also help stop that default plant once the Toxic Babes are gone in the round. But for Vespa, I mean, if they just end up changing their attacking strategy, maybe by putting a little bit more pressure over by Freezer, I can imagine they'll have at least a little bit more success if they were to go for that same kind of, drop down E-box style of play. And with their lineup right now, I honestly don't know what they would want to opt to go for. They have a bunch of flank watch. There's still the ability to get the hatches opened up with either Nyx or Kylak having secondary pocket charges. Maybe they'll also want to go direct in this round, kind of like what they did last time, except just having even more utility to push back Fisher with the help of those, Ying Candelas and also frag grenades wielded by 6.
One problem that could show up is if they don't drone out Gohan like they did in the previous round or previous time we saw the bottom floor, they don't have any utility. Nomad, no gridlock, nothing to try and clear out that flank. So Gohan could activate a little bit later in this round and it would work to near perfection. There's not even a Claymore available for anybody on Vespa. And Fisher's defensive setup has looked a lot more fluid. They've been significantly more flexible than we've seen from the Vespa attack, and Maple's very lucky to be alive as they were being shot from that backstage door. But instead of trying to take the fight and waiting for Kylak to walk in, they will instead disengage and still stay patiently for Kylak to try and take the fight. I don't know if Maple can even drop out of this position. They have no safety.
Well, luckily, Maple ends up falling back down below, as 6 will now push in through the meeting side of the map, a little bit closer to Green Hallway, and the Buck of Nyx is not too far behind either. Again, the main idea for Fisher is they're going to try to waste as much time as they can with their utility bundled up down below. Not so much playing with, a heavy emphasis on roaming and breaking that drone economy, maybe working that opening gunfight. Maple, though, is walked back up towards backstairs for just a little while. Probably heard the pocket charge go off and is still, wreaking havoc on the drone economy as it's down to just 5 now for Vespa. But still going into this round, having all 5-year defenders alive and healthy to defend that basement floor and play off those power positions like Pillar, like that main hallway, normally referred to as Highway, playing all the way in the back of the map, a little bit closer towards Elbow and even Freezer. That's going to be very impactful for Fisher College as they prepare for Vespa to make that first move down below.
I was talking about adjustments. It's not only between rounds, but in the middle of rounds as well. Between rounds, most notably, just caveat there. But between rounds, most notably, Gohan, well, they've played a little bit more patiently, but are still able to find the kill on a Nyx. No matter how good your shot is onto a drone or a C4, it has to be good onto a head, just like we saw from Gohan. Maple, lucky to be alive again. Somebody buy this guy a lottery ticket as he moves around. Still trying to take a fight as well with some of the fastest fire rate weapons in the game, but is still happy to do so. Nade down, does miss. Follow-up certainly could be there, but they just pop the Vulcan canister and now look to disengage. But here comes Vespa as they try to initiate off the back of Candelas, and most notably utility, but the C4 lands.
Nice shot by Maple landed as well. 6 trying his best to make ends meet as he eventually kills the player by Pillar, but Gohan just takes his place, and he's well aware there's someone over and backstairs playing right behind that Vulcan fire, just waiting for the inevitable to happen, the round to conclude, most likely in the favor of Fisher. 1 kill is confirmed, though, by Word. As he moves back outside, probably accepting his fate at this point, maybe trying to move all the way down through Blue Bunker as kind of a Hail Mary, but that does diminish a lot of time. That only brings us down to the red for Fisher. 7, now 6 seconds left to go as Word will just try to desperately find a little more impact in this round. He gets a nice kill on the Gohan, but the timer finally trickles down to 0, and Fisher will find yet another round.
It was perfectly set up for Fisher again on their defensive side. Most notably, they made sure they had a lot of control over towards both Freezer and Laundry with the mirror setups, and they just had enough utility set up around towards Blue and Dirt to slow things down and make sure that Fisher just was patient on their defensive setup, and Vespa could not dedicate themselves unless they wanted to die, i.e. to a C4 being lobbed over default. Perfect setup for Fisher's defense. Even though they didn't roam as much as we saw in rounds prior, most notably with Gohan, Gohan still found an opening frag rather than being the opening frag, and was able to back out and help the rest of their team. I was talking about the adjustments. That's what we needed to see from Fisher and what we now have as they look to send us to OT.
Big caveat, though. Now heading back into meeting room, this was essentially a flawless round for Vespa if you think about it. They were able to get that plant down in a 5 versus 5, cover that person on the diffuser, so it ended up becoming that post-plant proper, and they were able to hold a majority of the locations to a point where Fisher couldn't even try to push back into the bomb site from those directions because they were guarded so well by Vespa. It looks based on their lineup currently that they want to go for something similar, if not the exact same attacking idea where they have those Talon shields for really long-range cutoffs. You've got Bello for some nice flank watch, denying a few areas that Fisher could try to, again, retake from, and some sort of hard breach to just open up that wall as well, as big as possible, considering that you are the Thermite and just trying to push into the bomb site immediately after. And there really is no immediate change done by Fisher to really stop that play as effective as you normally could, except, I don't know, maybe having like Beezer with those kunais, but that would be the only major thing I could see changed here for Fisher to help stop a similar play like that against the single wall, which, yeah, I think we're having Vespa try to cook up once again.
I don't like the fact that Vespa's going for a carbon copy of their setup, though. This is the exact same operator composition we saw from them the last time we saw a tertiary bomb site from Fisher. And sure, it worked last time, but Fisher's a very adjustable team, i.e. their defensive side has very rarely made the same mistake twice, much less their attack. And how do you now set up for the exact same attack if you know that's how Fisher's being prepped? The adjustments for Fisher are still there, and it looks like Vespa doesn't want to waste any time getting this open. There has to be a backup plan because it's very likely they're ready for it.
Split castle barricade destroyed. Exothermic to go off soon after. Beezer holding down this nice pixel angle, just waiting for Vespa to make that next move, trying to get into the bomb site, and there is some more info. These are now forced to back off. There's the kunai, but it's a little too late. Nyx will still spring into action, but the deployable shield will be worked in the favor of Robe to get that trade. Luckily, you don't see the Fox roaming loose in the henhouse any longer with Nyx being shut down. But it's still a 4 versus 4, not completely impossible for Vespa, as they now try to stick this plant once again. No one's here to challenge. Finally, Robe will spring up, but it might be a little too late. Finally punches his ticket. Diffuser down, a triple scored by the Frost. Fisher now take the lead and take the diffuser on home turf.
The combination worked perfectly for Fisher as well. Gohan's adjustment was play towards Z and limit the coverage that was there. Below is taken care of, and that allows Robe to swing without having to worry about that buffed M249. A swing forward, Maple does almost 100 damage with the 9x9, but not lethal enough. A sliver of health for Word, a strong breeze would blow them over, and they still have to clear out Robe. A 4K now with the 9mm, and Word is a sliver from death, has no easy way in. Their whereabouts are more than known, and they have no utility to work off of except for those smoke grenades. Robe's looking for their ace, Cappy just needs a single kill, and most notably, Fisher is a single frag away from sending it to OT, and Robe is still playing behind that same deployable shield we've seen them in prior. They want to swing, and there's no info for Word to deny this swing from Robe. The Frost may very well be able to activate and shut down this Twitch. As they look to get the defuse down, they will go down themselves. Robe aces Fisher into OT.
An impressive comeback, 2 separate 5-1 splits, being just enough for Fisher College to hold on and bring us to overtime, like you mentioned, off of just really good positioning. We talked about it just briefly with Cappy winning that 1vx position oh so long ago on Kids in Dorms to stop that plant from going down on 2 separate occasions, and Robe, oddly enough, doing the exact same thing, stopping the plant on 2 separate occasions, and just using the fact that Vespa couldn't really challenge him in an advantageous way to his own benefit. And now puts in an overtime laundry and supply up on the docket here for Fisher, as Vespa, on both occasions, I believe, not able to do so well on their attacks when it came to this basement floor specifically, and that same lineup being brought out by Fisher College as well. Even though, like we talked about, they weren't very heavy on their roam game, they were still very effective at winning that first entry, and when you have all of your defenders dedicated to playing down below in those bunker positions, and you have the man advantage, you can play for 2-for-1s so darn easily that it makes the attacker's life just a living nightmare, especially if they're low on utility to push back the defense, which has also been a very common trope when we've seen this bomb set attack.
Now, a common notion when you head to OT is saying, well, if each half was, say, dead even, well, then OT, you'd seem to say, would be a similar notion. That's not the case here. A big caveat is the defensive side was 5-1. That's an 83.3% win rate. Plus, the only bomb sites that the defense lost, except for Vespa, was a tertiary bomb site. Vespa actually did lose a bottom floor bomb site in round number 5. That was after a Fisher timeout. So, that caveat, Fisher has every advantage possible. Not only do they have a 100% win rate on their 2 primary and secondary bomb sites. 2 for 2 on each. But they get to play defense twice. So should they lose their attack, they have that redundancy of going back onto the fortuitous side once more.
Almost a minute burned away on the timer here for Vespa. Still just beginning their attack, so to speak, in round number 13. Really no presence over by Big Tower, so Maple could probably just pivot somewhere else if they want to, or just eventually wait for Vespa to kind of transition over on this side of the map, since almost every single round they've had an emphasis on both backstairs and meeting rooms specifically. Just waiting here might honestly be the better call. There is an Inox scan, so it's the player on the lower end of backstairs will have to fall away, but I don't think they're aware of Maple still playing up above. He destroyed that drone, that being Gohan, and he's fallen away with that Jackal ping locating him specifically. But even so, if there is no intel on Maple, it's still C4 just to rotate, maybe play out this attic hatch if it's opened up, but that is not the case. So it'll just be a full rotate here for the Goyo, hoping to waste more time in this round.
There is the Nomad online, so Airjabs could deny this rotate. Word now looking to try and shut down that vector, but instead dies of their own volition, and Word is quickly taken care of. An opening kill on a flank this time around, and Fisher falling back to what surprisingly did not in round number 8, if I could do my math properly, is now working perfectly fine for them. Head OT. Maple also trying to take care of some utility and drones as well. Only 3 drones available for Vespa, and of those 3, 2 of them are on the entry fragger of 6, of whom waits on the freezer stairs but has no safety net in doing so. Maple's able to just drop down the freezer was open for them and rotate back to site with no further damage done to anybody on Fisher.
Not the best situation for Vespa at all. Losing a player almost for free, and then Maple is still able to fall back down below. They're 6, someone who's been a make-or-break player in the first half, now been rather silent so far towards the beginning of overtime as they're injured. Luckily, Kylak, these will keep things even, theoretically speaking, when a nice shot landed. Even then, Vespa, 20 seconds left to go and still not a lot of space created. That deployable shield going to be such a thorn in the side of Vespa as they slowly creep their way down into the freezer hallway. Gohan, nice shot, the tail end of that extension, and the final one collected for the Warden as well. Fisher College, they're at a 4-round deficit at the beginning of this matchup, but towards the end of Oregon, they're the ones in the driver's seat as they only need one more round to win their map pick.
Brief reminder, by the way, Vespa was winning 4-0, 5-1, and 6-3. Those were the notable leads for Vespa at their largest extremities on both sides, and yet here we are with Fisher up around and on map point first. I was having a conversation when we switched halves saying, oh, Vespa's going to have a great round differential heading to map 3, assuming A, Vespa wins 7-1, which surprisingly they have not, and B, Fisher wins map 2, which we have yet to see thus far. But what has happened to Vespa's defense? It hasn't happened since round 6. And their attack barely existed, going 1 for 6. No, 1 for 7, actually? Wow. Okay.
At least our defensive rounds have been a little bit better for them. So they at least have round number 14 to look forward to. But then after that, it's another can of worms, as they also haven't had a lot of success attacking kids in dorms. And their meeting room attacks have now been 50-50 after Rove aced them. So not a lot to look forward to just off of our own stats. In the rest of map number 1, really seems like they've let this map kind of slip through their fingertips like sand at a beach. Hopefully I can be proven wrong in the next few rounds, though, for Vespa, at least for their sake. That'd be a really good boon for them once again going into their own map. Chalet. Fisher opting to go for, I believe, the same attacking strat they've brought out both times they went up against kids, where they have the Maverick to try to push their way across through attic, and also having these are once again playing the ace if they can work their way from master into closet. I would have liked to have seen something maybe a little bit different, but you know, players can't be choosers, I suppose. There's Word, just through the soft wall, sprays down, gets rid of Gohan, and yeah, nice shot indeed. Perfect timing, I'd say, by the mute to get the ball rolling once again in the favor of Vespa. At least their defensive rounds have looked a little bit cleaner.
The problem is for Fisher on their attack, I don't think they have all that much information to work off of. Sure, they're going with their standard hold, but the impact trick works out perfectly. There should be a follow-up as well, of which will also land. And just like that, Fisher's in an exact same situation that we saw in round number 1 of this game. Not much has changed, even though we're in OT, but a Selma will work. Third time's the charm, I suppose, as they don't expend 2 Selmas in 1 attempt. But with Word dropping that kill back the other way, an overall 2-for-1 trade in the round, Fisher still up against the ropes.
Out there being a lot less pressure over by Trophy, I was going to say, maybe you could see a bigger emphasis against this Attic play, but Beezer springs up just the right time. Word now shut down, allowing that Attic pressure to really build up here, favoring Fisher College, but they still have to worry about this pesky Azami playing right at the top of White Stairs. A cutoff, though, is being wielded by Beezer. 6 taking care of a triple kill on the round. Now for the ace, he's been rather silent so far, but having a hell of an impact here on round number 14. Might even send us out of map 1 if he can continue to play his cards right. As Fisher, now on the cusp of maybe getting this diffuser down, still having enough coverage to push away Vespa in a timely manner. But here's the swing by Kylak. Good for 1. Cappy, though, swift trade. Bello taken care of. And now that leaves only Kylak to fend for themselves in a 1v2. Potential for that post plant. And Cappy, perfect coverage once again. Fisher College, the comeback of the series, take their map pick of Oregon and are much more looking forward to Chalet than what we would have been earlier anticipated.
5-1 first half. An 8-6 win for Fisher. They were down 5-1 at the half, and yet their second half didn't even seem like it. Multi-frag after multi-frag after multi-frag there, John. And seemingly in every single engagement, it was either everybody from Fisher showing up or somebody from Fisher showing up. I distinctly remember 6 separate rounds from Fisher's side, one of them being a loss, where somebody found a 2K or better, and surprisingly enough, made Vespa frown just a little bit. An ace from Robe, a 3K from Cappy, a 4K from Cappy. We just saw a 2K from Cappy, and yet a 3K from Beezer at the same point. It was everybody showing up, and I think the first round that we saw Fisher win, we said you cannot rely on those more important or less important solo plays. Sure, they're nice. You can't rely on them. And yet Fisher did, and they still won.
I think overall, like you're mentioning, though, with everyone consistently finding, 2 to 3Ks in a lot of different rounds, it may have, led the story to have more hero plays, but everyone was doing consistent, at least at one point in the matchup. And at the end of the day, that's what gave the advantage to the Fish towards the very end. A lot of people on Vespa just kind of turned silent towards the end, especially 6, who went from having like 12 kills towards the beginning of that second half to only having 14. Really a huge downturn from him. So hopefully going into Chalet, maybe Vespa can find a second or an extra life, if you want to give it that, heading into their own map pick, then potentially Theme Park if they want to win this series. Pun definitely intended, as we want to thank one of our lovely sponsors tonight, Extra Life. You play games to change kids' health and change the future altogether. By clicking on our lovely little Twitch panel down below in our description, you can create your own Extra Life team page and help out any which way you can.
You know what I have to say there, John, as we move into our second
I was
map,
thinking about it for a while, Dan. I was hoping it'd be executed well.
Well, hopefully that extra life in a best of 3 pays off for this Vespa side. We'll move to Chalet. Fisher win their own map selection. Let's see if they can win Vespas and 2-0 it, or if we're headed to Themes, our third map.
After a heroic comeback by Fisher College, they are the ones to come out on top on Oregon, leading them with map and series point. I guess just series point, as they already took map point back in Oregon. They've got series point on the docket heading into Chalet. And Virginia Tech, I mean, I guess they got to just keep the ball rolling. They can't just all of a sudden come to a dead stop going into the second half for either side here on Chalet, as that is what did them in on Oregon. So hopefully they can keep full steam ahead to get their map pick, because for Fisher, they've got plenty of experience on Chalet, both the good and the bad, if you want to put it blunt, Dad.
And I think the experience for Fisher overall paid out for them in the later stages of Oregon as well. I was talking about this a little bit with you in the break. The lack of flexibility for both teams really cost them on their attack. Very few changes were there, to the point where Fisher ran the exact same attack we saw in week 1 of the NECC in the fall. Nothing's changed in the top floor of Oregon since October, and yet it still worked for them in the final round of the game. Nothing else past that. But it was about their adjustments on the defensive side. In that meeting kitchen hold, the first time didn't work out very well. Vespa had a very good attacking setup. Second time, Fisher was ready for it, and they adjusted their playstyle around it, and Rogue just casually aced. We'll see if they could do that again as we move into the Swiss Alps in Chalet. Flores, the first ban, this time Fisher starting on the defensive side, will remove the Rotero drone wielder, and the Danish frogman also removed as Nook is taken off the board just the same.
Two eerily similar bans heading into Chalet. Maybe we see it again. That would be correct. Solus off the board too. Maybe even seeing a Valkyrie taken care of. That would be the almost exact same bans that we had on Oregon. Same operators, just different teams banning them this time around, and that will be the case. All right, so nothing too crazy. We'll probably still see a bunch of a zombie because there is a heavy amount of extending on Chalet specifically. I was going to say, every bomb site you can extend from. Master is probably the most difficult bomb site to extend out from out of all 4, but teams still like to go here. For what reason, besides personal preference, I honestly don't know, because this bomb site is kind of bad, and yeah, luckily Fisher, they get off it. They probably heard me talking in audio, because I know for a fact I've mentioned this to Yali like several hundred times as to why they like going here so much. And luckily, they will think better of it this time. We'll go to wine, but I could imagine later on we'll see Master at some point. It's like the collegiate special.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs.
It is the collegiate special, but it also depends on the level of collegiate you're seeing. Technically, the worst defender bomb site on this map, with Bar Gaming and Kitchen Dining being far and away ahead of it, and Snowmobile Garage and Wine Cellar being enough ahead of it to where it's notable to say. Fisher's defense also nothing outstanding. Outstanding as in notable, as a massive change from what is the norm on this bottom bomb site. One thing I do want to bring up is Maple bringing the Goyo. We saw Maple bring the Goyo a crap over on Oregon, and the main reason is the delay factor. It's so good for Fisher to just use those Vulcan canisters. They have 20 seconds of efficacy per Vulcan canister. That is a lot. That's 80 seconds for all you mathematicians out there. Combine that with a smoke, of which they don't have this time around, or C4s, of which they have 2, and it's a pretty deadly late round combination.
Interested in seeing how Vespa might want to take a different approach when it comes to dealing with that utility late round, because it has been somewhat of an issue, at least on Oregon, and with the lineup not changing all too much by Fisher, except now having at least a bigger emphasis on roaming. That could once again be a problem on Chalet. You've got an interesting pick of the Fuse, which you will see from time to time, and that can definitely clear out a bunch of utility if you get this top floor on lockdown. But so far, you've got Gohan still waiting here with such patience, finally shut down by Nyx. Don't worry about Robe, though, but there is still plenty of info that Vespa have already acquired, so it's a quick 1-2 punch to find the first 2 opening blows going their way. The Roamer's now dealt with. Vertical can be
look at Nyx.
Opened up at least a little bit, and yeah, look at Nyx. Already able to get these cluster charges down, and from a very interesting angle of that mezzanine position, which I think we saw all the way back at the 6 Invitational of last year.
This is courtesy of Spiff, I believe, who would put it on the top of Mez, open up floors on Fireplace, and then the exact same pellets would then go through the open flooring, as you can see, and do a crap ton of barrage damage in towards Wine Cellar. It's basically Hellfire being rained down. If Farah was in Rainbow Six Siege, her name would be Fuse. But she's not, so it isn't. Kylak now trying to walk in from this fireplace window. They want some semblance of control other than this first floor on the Vespa attack, but there's still a decent bit of utility left over. Vulcan canisters, C4s, and the impact for Cappy, alongside a significant bit of frag power as well. Beezer, Maple, and Cappy, who popped up in multiple multi-frag rounds, but Nyx, with arguably the best weapon in the game, able to drop down Beezer, and the utility on the wall. This should be a quick finish for Vespa as well.
People still up above. There's plenty of intel on their position now. Seems very futile to try to hold back for much longer. There's word just bulging, or I guess a barging his way in front of them. Now leaves just Cappy, and yeah, they're shut down with a few more seconds left to go for Vespa. Flawlessly done on round 1. They had an impeccable start on Oregon, and so far it seems for Chalet, we're seeing that trend continue, but again, they have to keep the ball rolling. They can't just, start with incredibly high energy and then just fizzle out.
Opening pick was important there for Vespa. As soon as they were able to drop down the hold of Gohan up towards Mez, the follow-up onto Robe really solidified that top floor control. And they had a strat they wanted to send, and they stuck to it. Nyx basically creating so much space on towards the site, forcing Fisher, sure, not into direct gunfights, but away from comfortability, and not giving them any semblance of control on the site itself, because that opening into Wine Cellar is basically all the control you need. Similar to that in towards Connector as well. There was no safe space for Fisher to hold on the defensive side, and because of it, they were basically just forced into the holds of where they saw. And that was the proactivity for Maple, or Beezer, I believe, which was quickly taken care of. The walk-up from Maple inside of Dining, which also led to a death. And Cappy, left alone on the bottom floor, who quickly died as well. It didn't look all that good for Fisher's defense, but an opening kill could very well change that. Not too much could change, but hey, just don't die first for him.
Only we're that simple. Well, in a weird way it is. But not always, I guess, repeatable advice to follow, especially are playing as a death roll. Barn game's now up. Gohan playing Doc, so he's probably going to not move at all by Library for as long as he can, utilizing those stims. I believe it was Kangaroo Kenny that cooked up that plan like forever ago in EUCL, and now it's used at the upper echelon of Pro League play from time to time. It's really interesting to see that little pocket strat kind of thrive on this bomb site specifically. And it seems like Vespa, they don't want anything to do with Library for right now. They are heavily focused on a solar overtake. They can get a little bit of office and piano control, and then they can start clearing out that utility that's specifically bundled up by the top of Blue Stairs. And then if they want to maybe late round have someone rotate to Library big window, they could also do that after clearing out this utility. So that's going to be their main focus as of right now. And then again, later on, they can maybe focus a little more on Library. As if you tend to ignore Library as a whole when clearing out this top floor, it can kind of bite you in the rear. There are a lot of long angles you can still hold as a defender, and of course still have that hatch to play off of to fall back safely into the bomb site.
And Fisher isn't actually playing on this north side of the map whatsoever, but they have utility set up to play in the general vicinity of it. The reinforced walls alongside the footholes in towards office allows Mezzanine to control a lot there, and look for below, trying to find a kill over towards that Mez side. Because Vespa could get caught out from the feet holes, Cappy could get caught out from the window just the same. It is a two-way street in the realms of fragging, but Beezer really on a one-way ticket to hell as a kill is found, but Maple just walking up from behind finds one, Cappy a follow-up, and a 4v2 here. Look for a 4v1. Maple just barely missing the opportunity, but with a shotgun out, almost drops Kylak, but from point-blank range does 50 damage? I thought shotguns needed a nerf. I suppose I was wrong.
Maybe they just already were nerfed, Dan. You just don't know it yet. It's all in your head. It's just a bunch of fake numbers being thrown at you. It's like the... I don't want to bring up that next talking point, but Vespa kind of down on their luck here in round number 2. They've lost that top floor control, so Fisher can use that to their own advantage, just waiting for someone to maybe try to hop in through the big window, just get fried by someone playing as a stalker still on that top floor. I think I should know that maybe they've given it up now in 3v2. That will be the case, but only Kylak playing here as the aggressor. Very low HP, so those toxic Gaves are going to be a very big threat looming over Vespa, specifically for their diffuser player, as Nyx is gathering some last-second intel before making that last rally call to try to hop his way into the objective and maybe assist Kylak to potentially get that diffuser down. There's some nice intel being gathered here against the Jaeger behind this bar top. They'll be injured because of it, but there's Gohan, a swift trade. Now leaving just Kylak, once again, very low HP and even lower on bullets as Robe will overextend and take care of the final thorn in their side. Fisher, tie us up already, and we're just heading into round 3 now.
High fire rate plus low HP equals a very swift death there for Vespa. And good adjustment again from Fisher. They gave up that top floor, but Vespa fell into a false sense of security because Fisher played a lot more passive after giving up real estate last time. They assumed that Fisher would do the exact same this time around. That just was not the case. Cappy played proactive around towards Mez, finding a quick kill. Maple the same, and even when Beezer fell, everybody else from Fisher stepped up to the plate and hit it out of the park. Most importantly, hit Vespa out of the map, as there was no real estate control whatsoever for Vespa as soon as they lost those 3 players over towards the Office of Master side, and Fisher was quickly able to collapse upon them because of it. Good adjustment. And something that we've really seen from Fisher on a consistent basis. The adjustments on their attack or defense, something I'm still looking for more in towards the rest of this map.
I'm heading to the dining room and kitchen. Haven't seen Bastard just yet, so I'm on pretty good terms with Fisher right now. Hoping we can keep that ball rolling. And with Vespa, wondering to see if they still keep the Osa as an option. It makes a lot of sense for this bomb site specifically because it can tend to be very difficult from time to time trying to close that gap between the open dining wall and then trying to plant right after. So sometimes having someone play behind an Osa shield can help provide a lot of coverage for your teammate who will try to push in, or you just have someone with a talent shield to try to walk into the bomb site with it and then plant behind it. But usually it's more or less the first point rather than the secondary one. Vespa understanding the importance of not only getting control of, positions like main lobby / fireplace, but also trying to clear out that top floor so no one can flank or utilize vertical against someone trying to go for that default plant. They will also have to clear out this top floor, starting out by the library side of the map, even having word all the way down by bar in just 40 seconds, but there being no sign of a roam extension in that position. You can already see a lot of map control being gained by Vespa and using that to even break against some of this utility that was set up in the bomb site to counter that main breach.
I don't think Twitch drones should be able to counter out Vulcan canisters. Sorry, had to say it. Shocking something plastic does not make it light on fire. Just a realistic standpoint. Had to get that one out there. But I digress. Fisher's defense looking a little bit better this time around. They're playing passive, but still allowing themselves to take fights. And with, I don't know how in the world Maple found that kill, but they did, I believe, on the top floor from a rotate through a door, through another door, across on towards library. That's the opening duel on a Nyx, and the EE1Ds are quickly taken care of, as is one of the more notable fraggers here for Vespa to open things up. Important start, and a follow-up from Gohan, one of the better weapons in the game, the Mark 14, reigning true on a 6, and the top fragger from last map also dropped just the same.
Second exothermic going off in this round, now used down below. Beezer across the map is going to take care of Kylak. Now that leaves just below and word left in a 2 versus 5 Fisher, really having an incredible showing so far in this first half. And below, he was expecting this mezzanine push, but it's just completely frozen in time, I guess. Got a little bit of input lag on his side of the round, as he doesn't even fire back against the Jaeger. Maple across the map will take care of word. Bellows now in a 1 versus 5, just sitting outside, I guess pondering his thoughts. Blinds himself with a stun, bit of a comedic relief, as there is no way he's coming back in this round for a round win. Yeah. Fisher having an incredible roam upstairs, picking the perfect moments when to get aggressive, and hey, Dividend's so well, they don't even have to really worry about the rest of round number 3. It's just Bello, and they even know where he is. Yeah, nice quick peek by Beezer will make it flawless for Fisher, as they now take the lead. A rare commodity for them so far in this matchup, but it looks good on them.
Why does Beezer do that in comp, but can't do that when I play ranked with him? Honest question.
Because he doesn't like you gaining elo for free. He's
apparently. I try and get this guy to carry me, and he still does, but not to that extent. Anywho, Fisher's defense looked really good, and a caveat to what we saw below, I think was either looking somewhere else or looking away from their screen. It's one of those where you're holding an angle, but you're also looking at something else, worried about other information, i.e. when you're playing either Counter-Strike or Valorant, you look up at the map while holding with an op, and then you die because you looked away. Timing in first-person shooters, name a more iconic duo. Anyway, Fisher still win the round, and not only because of timing, but because of their proactive defensive play, something that Vespa, again, really was not expecting on a hold like kitchen dining, to the point where the extent of the kitchen or the dining rooms that we saw was the Twitch drone opening up the Vulcan canisters. That's it. And then Fisher was like, well, we actually don't want to defend this bomb site anymore. We'll defend everything else on the map and do so to near perfection.
I really still can't get over the the fact that you don't approve of Twitch being able to break Vulcan packs. Like, that is like...
I don't like it.
That's like one
I
of the
don't
only
like
major counters you have to Goyo, because the lack of like grenades in this game now. Just shoot them, Forehead. Oh, people aren't that dumb
honestly,
to
just
leave
shoot
them
them.
like that. Just shoot them. Okay, I can see why the only time you've had in ranked has been in gold elo and nothing else past that.
Hey, I'm in plat now, and I was in plat significantly
Oh,
beforehand.
in the lay Mickey rank system. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. I've played way too many games to still be in plat. I have like a 0.5 win loss, or I think I have a 1.0 win loss. It's bad.
There you go. I haven't played the game in a very long
this.
time.
I don't like the Mickey ranked. What?
Well,
World
Mochi playing more ranked.
Weird.
Oh.
How did neither of them die? Okay.
Oh,
What?
And he saw his shoulder too. Insult to injury.
Shot.
Another roam extension working out for Fisher, even more than they probably expected, as one of your only main counters to Goyo, whether you like it or not, is gone. So now you have only those grenades and a couple of cluster charges here and there, if they're placed in the right position. Yeah, Nick's, same thing we talked about earlier. Start out on the mezzanine. It opens up the entire floor of fireplace, at least to the halfway point, which is why you need two. And now the wall is, or at least the flooring is completely opened up. So it's very difficult now to hold some spots like pillar, for example. It's really tough to play around by connector. So it opens up a lot of opportunities for Vespa, but Fisher just simply ignore that and all push into blue hall instead. They want nothing to do with both connector and the back of wine.
This is a similar situation to what we saw in round 1, but the main difference is the fact that Fisher not only have all 5 players alive, but still have almost all of their utilities still on the board. Surya Gates, Melusi Banshees, C4s, plural, and Vulcan canisters, plural. That's the most important part about this, where Fisher, yeah, they're discounted from direct sightlines and wine cellar. They don't have to play in that general vicinity. They still have so much control to work with otherwise. Kylak was about a quarter of a pixel away from finding a kill there onto the head of Gohan as they rotate down towards dining. But the hatch is open, Maple just drops down and is happy to just play a little bit more passive. Gohan, however, still wants to take the fight and is very close to dying in their own right, but still is holding on the top floor. And with 45 seconds left, Vespa have done a whole lot of nothing except clear out that second floor hold.
You mentioned that lack of time going to be a major difficulty here for Vespa, but they're expecting that flank on by dining hall. Kylak, a nice decisive shot to make things at 4 versus 4, but again, the Vulcan packs, the nitro cells, even impact grenade left by Cappy in the final few moments of this round could be very, very leading towards their favor. Even 2 people set up to make sure no one can walk down blue stairs for free. Both Robe and Cappy just waiting for that perfect moment to seize the opportunity. Maple will try his best playing up above by dining room, but he's swiftly taken care of. But that blue stairs player, eliminated by Robe, will make things oh so difficult for Nyx to try to hop in, but he doesn't even have case control. That's up to 6 with no one left to cover him. He'll have to spring in through the main breach, but Robe will punish him for doing so with the help of that Surya Gate and M14 combination. Fisher, the readjustment here on this bomb site was the perfect thing to do, as they now win it, going there their second time, and now having a 3-round lead, or I guess a 3-round streak against Vespa.
And all that control also led to more comfortability on that defensive side. They were able to hold so many different angles that they weren't able to do so in prior rounds. In the 3v5 back in round number 1, well, they had to play aggressive. They did not have that availability to hold as many angles as we just saw them do. But as soon as you pick up that opening kill, the all-important 5v4, and most notably the Twitch, that can indeed counter out the Goyo, whether I like it or not, spoiler alert, I don't. Well, they're still happy to play a little bit more comfortably and passive on the defensive side. Except for Gohan, because Gohan just tries to frag everybody, and more often than not it works in his favor, but on the select few times it doesn't. Well, it's the Warden being taken care of, and there's no Ying, so no real insult to injury for Fisher's defense. It works out perfectly for them, and they flex it into a yet another round victory, notably off of a Rogue 3K, all 3 of the final kills, by the way.
War now back in play for Fisher. Wasn't really the most amazing start for Vespa. Sure they won the opening engagement, but immediately after there were several responses found by Fisher College that were just way too loud for Vespa to really do anything against. You had someone trying to flank in from Solar, going all the way through Piano, which luckily was able to find at least a kill or two in that round. I think it was almost 2, but that shotgun was apparently not enough at, I guess, at spitting distance is the way to put it for how close each person was over the top of office. But not even that, but still having plenty of power spots available to the top floor extenders by blue stairs and library. And again, no one pushing into that library double window. It was a huge problem for Vespa. And they're opting to go for a fairly similar attack. They now have Nomad, so there is some flank watch, probably denying anyone of going up solar stairs, for example. But if they aren't able to utilize something like those Thatcher EMPs or those stuns to burn through the ADS and magnets, I can imagine power spots like, the top of mezzanine and blue stairs to be pretty much intact for the entire round for Fisher's sake.
Odd setup for Fisher as well, where they're just doing exactly what they have in prior rounds. And this is not abnormal by any means. Holding around towards stairs, below putting up air jab, but Maple's already sitting inside a kitchen. I'm not sure if a drone will find them as they just wait passively in the corner. Below has a sound cue and a sound cue only, no visual guarantees at all, and Maple may very well have the availability to just walk forward. And Aerojab's on the other side of Trophy, but Below is still holding this because he does not want to die to a flank again, and Maple may very well get caught out by a false sense of security on this flank setup.
Stuns and grenades synchronized, even a Thatcher EMP, but the nade, it hit the little case instead. Oh, that is so tragic. Everything was done perfectly until Word just missed through his nade. That is so brutal. And the magnets reset. No. Oh my god, this is such a tragedy. Another grenade tossed out. That's 3 in total, and it misses. You can't make this up! Beezer is still top blue! It took every grenade, every EMP, and half of their stuns to get rid of the shield, but Beezer is still playing by top blue. This is ridiculous.
Casual note, by the way, there's 45 seconds left in the round, and Vespa barely have map control. They have barely taken top floor, and they've just been able to rotate over towards the south side of the map. Maple's freely able to drop down, and will now start looking for that flank, maybe up West Main, as they discount both kitchen and dining. This is a significant problem for Vespa. There are all 10 players alive with just 1/6 of the round remaining. Below is aware of the possibility of a flank being set up and is holding for the walkthrough, but the kill may very well still come through for Maple. At a bare minimum, they are able to get out with their life and stay alive on this West Main hold. A kill now found, as with 12 seconds left, there are 4 players alive for Vespa, but they will quickly be torn apart, body from body, limb from limb. A diffuser being put down in the corner, but safely no more. Kylak will try and stick it, and should be meleeed, instead shot in the head. Fisher, hold bar gaming.
And usually, Chalet is rather attacker-sided, but this has not been the case for Vespa, finding only 1 round win, and that was at the beginning of this first half. After that, it's been nothing but net for Fisher. And I won't get too ahead of myself because we just saw earlier on Oregon 2 very one-sided halves. So I'm not going to count Vespa out just yet, and they still have a timeout if they wanted to try to use it in the upcoming moments, but I don't even think they use it on Oregon, so they might just be going for, I guess, a 0 tack timeout run, which I think is just one of the dumbest things to do. At the very least, if you're not even going to talk at a very, I guess, analytical level in your timeouts, at least you're resetting the momentum, which really does have a lot of impact in most rounds. It's one of the huge reasons why timeouts have such a huge success rate as a whole. There's also a lot of other reasons that go into why, timeouts are really important for teams, but that is, of course, one of them. So even, having that as an option goes a long way. But Vespa just refusing to use it in the first half, it definitely seems a little bit questionable. And what could be more questionable is what they're trying to cook up with the help of an Amaru and a Sense available to them as well. I hope they don't go for the NAL strat because that has only worked a whopping 1 time. So if that doesn't happen, the only other thing I could see working for them would be probably a dining room attack with someone going through the hatch, but with the Amaru not having the diffuser, I doubt they're going for that. Yeah, it's going to be the NAL hatch strat through a little mud room by Big Garage.
The first time I actually saw this strat was with you casting, and it didn't go exactly as planned. It was pretty clean, but not exactly as planned by any means. And an odd setup as well, as Vespa isn't directly going for it early. They want to try and bleed some time off the clock. I have some stats for you for about 2 seconds. The attacking side throughout this entire series has a 21% win rate. You were talking about the lack of timeouts. Well, after a timeout, the attacking side has a 100% win rate. 1 timeout, 1 attacking round win. So, Vespa, you have a minute to use, might as well call it more often than not. Different setup though, they will just go over towards the trophy side, missed C4, but information at a bare minimum here for Fisher's defense. They still looking for kills. Robe is caught inside of a Vulcan canister as it's popped across the side. Word with a Twitch drone is able to drop him down to just 30 health, but Maple into top floor is still looking for this kill. Has to worry about the Solarium windows, is able to drop down into trophy safely as long as they vault in towards it. There's no safe space for Fisher around kitchen, around the far side of dining, nor most importantly around the close trophy or west main sides either. An odd position for Vespa to be in, but a quick one that could work out in their favor.
It's kind of a stalemate right now between Vespa and Fisher. Finally, someone will begin that first altercation. There's Word getting an elimination onto Gohan. But again, no real way of trying to get yourself into the bombs that you have to get that plant down. But finding 2 separate kills back to back, that could be definitely enough here. Vespa, but again, there's still someone playing above on that top floor. If there's intel, you could use that to deny this plant. Beezer tries to hop down, but swiftly taken care of by Word. Bello scores for 1 as well, leaving just Robe, and it's flawlessly done by Vespa. The NAL strat took him a little while to get that going, but it still worked nonetheless, and they find at least 1 round to sandwich their first half with 2 wins as kind of the bread in that position, making it at least a 2-4 split.
I thought they were going for a difference of the NAL strat as well. The first time I think I saw it was from Aerial Arise, where you pull the Sens over towards the dining drone hole instead of the trophy drone hole, and then go up the dining hatchets and wine cellar and try and get a plant over there. But instead, a decent bit of control early. Yeah, I was. Yeah, Nix is right. You know you like that, and honestly, I gotta appreciate it. Vespa's attacking side made an adjustment and threw Fisher off a little bit. Finally an adjustment from Virginia Tech, and it works in their favor. Good attacking round victory.
I don't know if he went onto the stream with the delay and then heard me like talk smack about the NAL strat, or he just knows that on the rare occasion I like a Sens play. But either way, friendly gesture, never hurt anybody, so fair enough, I suppose. Nix, at least it worked. That's all that matters at the end of the day. And at least we see another 2-4 split, which has been, I wouldn't say it's been common, but that's like one of the more default sided halves you can see on Charlotte's. Other than that, or like a 3-3 half, so nothing really to scoff at for either Vespa or Fisher. Except for Fisher, obviously, they'll get a bit more of a cushion so long as they can, I guess, break the trope of having both maps so far be incredibly defender favored. I think in total we've seen 4 round wins on the attack, and that's been it. Because it's been 2 5-1 splits on Oregon with no one winning attack on the overtime. Actually, no. Fisher won a single attacking round on overtime. So make that 5 round wins total in these 2 maps for attacks. My mistake. 1 round off.
5 of 21, by the way. Gohan's dead.
Okay.
I am.
They're looking to keep it at 5. Okay.
I was about to say that he had a skin, but no. Beezer just dropped him as he walked in. And
smoked.
Yeah. Kylak is right. Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Gohan's dead. Nades are gone. Ayana's gone. And Beezer, well, not the greatest of opening kills for you. We were talking about Fisher needing opening duels. I didn't mean onto themselves.
Well, they got one at least. There you go. They just gotta find another now. That's all that matters at the end of the day. A couple ADSs will catch some utility, keeping Nix pretty comfortable over in the back of Mezzanine for a little bit longer. There's a grenade tossed out, but it bounces off the Kiva and keeps Nix still playing over by the back of Mezzanine, almost finding a nice neutral shot on a player by a Library double window. And I thought from what Nix was aware, someone was actually playing this aggressive in Library. It seems like he was aware of that, just focusing on the X-Kairos charges for an even longer chunk of time. Maple almost wins an engagement, but Nix barely survives, still wasting even more time, just refusing to die. Eventually, Maple will finish the job, but there's Kylak falling through the hatch after securing that refrag onto Maple, and Vespa still have top floor control. This is an insane round by Vespa, and after all of that cartilage, I mean, after all that carnage part, and they're still somewhat in the lead until Cappy says screw it and just gets into sight, and Beezer's covering the diffuser from going down on the ground. What a series of events happening in this round, and no one can even deny the plant via the hatch. Six gets injured, dropping down in the site, trying to wonder what the hell's going on, and that leaves just Bello, Beezer with 2. Fisher, what a comeback and resurgence in that execute.
Good adjustment as well from Fisher. Vespa with that top floor control, sure, but the problem for them was the fact that it was so far removed from the site itself. With the kill coming through and then the rotation down the hatch, there was no direct library hold on the Vespa side. The extent of what their hold was library hallway down over towards blue hallway, around towards 45. Bar, as we saw from the Jaeger of Bello, and most importantly, that didn't work out for them, was Six, who was stuck on the far north side of the map, sitting around towards Piano, who had to sprint over towards Library as soon as they knew the diffuser was going down. By the time they got there, not only was the diffuser down, but as they dropped through the hatch, they immediately died, because both players were covering it, and Fisher was able to find the all-important securing kill later on onto Bello, who just walked into their death. A follow-up from Fisher that I have to say I'm very surprised of, because that adjustment was there. And something we've seen from them time and time again, I hate saying it, but I will, is the adjustments, and most importantly, in between rounds as well.
Nick's bringing up the Tachanka, or Master in Office, a very horizontal bomb site. So out of all the objectives you could bring them on, this is probably one of the better selections. I'd say Chalet is probably one of the more favorable maps just in general for Tachanka, but Master in Office probably being one of the top sites you can pick with him. And oh, he's cooking up with the 1.5x. I see the vision here for Nick, looking for a spawn peak. I don't think anyone's actually by helipad, so he might just be staring at a nothing burger for pretty much the entire round. I know Maple's here.
Maple.
Oh, is he going to get timing? Does Nick's going to look away? Oh no, he looked too far back! That's so unlucky for Nick. He was so far back, he couldn't see Maple, and he used it against him. Saw the barricade opened up just slightly. That's a little pre-fire, and the chunk is dead. So that's almost all your denial down the drain, and you're just down a player too in general. What the fuck?
Oh, and most importantly, I think Nyx is just caught out because the gun barrel was showing. When you're so close to the barricade, that's what can cost you. He says unfortunate. I agree. Feels bad, man. Gohan now walking up West Main. We'll try and take Solarium side, and information's there. But the Barbed isn't directly on those stairs. They could just be able to walk up the red ping, the follow-up kill from Gohan, and good combination coordination from Fisher, and a follow-up kill as well.
5 versus 3 now. Fisher looking to close the gap even further as Six will be located by a drone and has no idea Gohan's just running at him full throttle. What a power play to really add even more damage into this round as Gohan's got bathroom control and finds a triple kill to boot. There's no way that Vespa can come back from this round. Claymore not going to catch the life of Kylak, but Maple's bullets surely do the job just fine. Another flawless round. I believe that makes that 4 in the overall tally between both Vespa and Fisher having 2 respectively, as they already have map in series point on Chalet.
G36C ace as well, if anybody was keeping track. Opening and final kills coming through from the Ash of Maple, and then Gohan finding the casual 3K in the dead center of it. When Fisher was playing, not only with information, but with actionable information, is a dangerous subject, because they're basically using the drone as one of 2 things, or both things at the same time. Number 1, information gathering, and number 2, a bait. When you look at a drone, your general instinct is to A, shoot it, and B, reload. As soon as you do that, you die. Happened on 2 separate occasions, and Gohan found back-to-back kills off the back of it. That's scary from Fisher. Exploiting commonalities from Vespa, and now with 4 straight match points in their favor, it's scary for Vespa to have to come back on a map that's generally attacker favored.
Still no timeout as well being called by them. Definitely a little concerning. I guess they simply don't need it. I guess they'll just win 4 rounds on their own with just blood, sweat, and tears. No breaks, all gas. Also bringing out the dock strategy we talked about earlier that Fisher had for at least, I think, 1 round when defending Bar. So they're really hoping they can keep library control for the entirety, if not just at least most of this round, because you still have all that extra utility bundled up right outside the library and box, so you could also try to retake later on if needed. So At least you have that going for you. And it's an instant hop in from Gohan, and he still killed Kylak? That is unreal. Nyx didn't even react poorly to that. He still found the trade, but Jesus, Gohan, the quick flick from the Frostmat, then up to still kill Kylak, that is unbelievable.
Now running the Capitao, they want to force this Doc out of position. The strat here should be, with the lack of a Frostmat now on that window, throw flashes, throw in the Capitao bolts, and as soon as Nyx has to stun themselves, jump in. Somebody should be jumping in the next few seconds, but instead, it's a follow-up nade. Fisher exploiting again default positions for Vespa and a 4 versus 2 to possibly shut down the series as it's Word and 6 up against Fisher, but 6 brings back top floor control and most importantly, some semblance of stability for the Vespa defense.
It's going to be the beginning of the end here for Vespa. Still have a few tricks up their sleeves, so Toxic Babe to at least buy a little more time for them, but there's also intel that Fisher are using to their advantage. They know someone's behind that bar top table, a blind fire. Almost nets a kill for Beezer, but they're just short of a couple of shots there, and now allows Word to readjust and maybe look for a gunfight of his own to collect, and there it is, a nice headshot secured onto Cappy. Now puts us dead even. Our last space to make here, but no, the wall's been opened up just enough for Beezer to shoot through it and find a kill. That leaves just 6 as he gives away his intentions, dropping down through the hatch. Such a loud sound call to be given in the favor of Fisher. Now they know they can try to go for this plant if they want to, but 6 still looking to hold on. Both Beezer and Robe fairly low on HP, but nonetheless the plant still being attempted. Robe looking to readjust, expecting a position down by stock perhaps, and that confirms the post plant. Buying enough time, 6 spots, 1, but cannot react on the second in time. And Fisher, a close matchup on Oregon. They blow out their opposition on Chalet and take the Open Premier Final as their own.
They were 5-1 down back when we were on Oregon. After that, they proceeded to go on a 14-3 run. 14-3 run to close out both maps, and in quick succession. That was dangerous from Fisher. And against Vespa, who looked formidable early on Oregon, they didn't even look like they were there in the last hour and change. It was dangerous and scary from Falcons.
And it's only gonna make the interview a lot more interesting because that wasn't even their map pick. So it's definitely gonna be a good question to ask, wondering, what kind of gave them that second win to make Chalet so one-sided. Of course, we will have that interview coming into us by someone on the side of the Fisher Falcons once we, conclude our break. But before our break, we're gonna talk about Extra Life just another time here to get everyone on the same page, talk about what they have to offer for us as one of our lovely sponsors. If you are able to click on our Twitch panel just below, you can create your own Extra Life team page, and by playing a few games, you can help change the health of kids all across the world and change their future for the better. So definitely would recommend that quite strongly.
Flexibility, patience, fragability, and I think the overall sustainability of Fisher. That was the staple, the 4 of them, in my opinion, of their back-to-back map victories and their comeback from 5-1 in Oregon, most important. They looked like they knew what they wanted to do, and when there was an answer from Vespa, immediately there was a response from Fisher back the other way. A game of chess while Vespa was stuck playing just checkers, and a 2-0 victory, so they can create 4 separate Open Premier Final championships in their favor. All 4 of the Open Premier Finals that Vespa showed up in, they also took away a trophy in. We'll see how they feel about it with an interview from one of the Fisher members when we return from it. Important adjustments for Fisher turns into a 2-0 series victory for them, 7-2 on Chalet with an 8-6 closeout on Oregon. We got an interview with Beezer to break things down for us and give us the lowdown on how Fisher feels about it. Beezer, opening things up, 2-0 with a 5-1 comeback from Oregon. Talk to me about how, in general, taken the Open Premier Finals is.
I mean, as you know, like last semester we lost to UTSA in NACE Finals, which was really heartbreaking. But I was expecting to play them again. I'm not sure how they lost to Vespa because they're a really good team. Must just been an off day or something. It happens. But like, I'm really excited. I didn't play too well the first map. I didn't play well like at all. Like, but you know, like just being like the IGL and being able to help my team and just give them the calls, you know, that they need to get the kills is way better in my opinion than, because at the end of the day we won and we're happy and we got paid.
Well, I mean, talking as you are the IGL, I want to start things off with Oregon. I believe it was round 10, maybe round 11. It was the second time you went to Meeting Kitchen. Now, you knew they were going to run the exact same strat, and as soon as they opened things up with it, it worked good for you. But talk to me about how you flexed your defense to cut off from Z, and most importantly, just allow Robe to casually ace.
So when we went meeting again, like literally, like the first thing I said was, hey, they're going to do the exact same thing. This team like isn't really like, they just kind of do the same thing kind of like over and over again. So like I knew they were going to do it. I was like, we just need to make sure that we're putting pressure Z, and that I switched off the K to play the Azami for the impacts for Osa. I mean, it didn't really work because I got first picked, but like it was just like counter like stratting them basically, because what we struggle with is like kind of playing into teams that aren't doing stuff that we're used to. So like I was just like, hey, cut them off from Z. I'm going to bring the Azami, just completely switch our lineup and our playstyle for that site to try to secure the dub. And you know, when you have Robe on your team, it's a little easier.
Well, heading into Chalet, Beezer, it seemed like something had completely changed from Oregon. You know, it took you guys a very long time to kind of figure out the game plan of how your opponents are playing. What do you think was the major change, you know, from Oregon then going into Chalet that gave you kind of like the second win to do so well and win pretty one-sided 7-2?
Yeah, so going into Chalet, like my teammate Gohan kind of like got us in check. He was like, hey, we need to stop like overthinking what we're doing, and just like he said play it like ranked, which like we're like, whoa, let's not play like ranked. But like at the same time, it's like we stress a lot, especially me, like when it comes like even when it comes to map bans, I try to overthink and like counter strat and counter pick and do all this stuff, when at the end of the day, like we're a really good team and I'm really confident in us. And I think that like he said, just stop worrying about what they're doing and do what we know, and what we know is to win. So it's like we won.
So to kind of close things out towards the end of this interview, you know, we've been casting you guys in collegiate and T3 for quite some time now. What do you think has been the biggest improvements you have gone through from, let's say, at the beginning of the fall semester where you had kind of a, you know, a short falling in the finals to now coming all the way back to the spring season, having a bit of a redemption arc, it seems now?
We've put in a lot of work with scrims and other leagues. Like making Premier was big for us. That we went like what 7-1 in those quals. That was like really like our eye opener to say, hey, like we're not just some open league. Like, you know, we can compete with the big dogs, and we showed that. And with the LAN and with the last season of CR6, and this season I think we went undefeated in regular season. Just like showing other teams that like we're here for a reason, you know, like I know there's been a lot of like talk about Fisher recently, but like we're here for a reason. Like this is why we are what we are.
And a clean finish for you guys, really showing who you are. And it's an adjustable team that has flexible playstyles and most importantly, a few dubs now under their belt. Beezer, before we let you go after your 2-0 victory, any final thoughts from you? Anybody you want to shout out? The floor is all yours.
Yeah, first of all, shout out to Fisher. They've been nothing but great. I don't attend my classes on Zoom. I actually go to in-person classes, which seems to be a misconception from some people. Shout out Aaron, shout out Brian, shout out everybody. And Nix, you can keep my name out your mouth because yeah, I'm just going to leave that there. But other than that, shout out everybody, shout out my teammates. They know I love them, and I'm really excited to go to Dallas for this LAN and hopefully take another victory.
Looking for another dub under the belt. Beezer, as always, thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully you can do what you just did today in the ranked games we play over the next couple weeks. Congratulations on the victory.
I'm not boosting you anymore. Goodbye.
You know, I was alluding to it in the broadcast. Well, Beezer confirmed it. You are boosted plat. I guess you can join the club with me now. My stats definitely depict the picture of that, so I guess we're on the same page. Both, funny enough, all three of us wearing blue too. I guess representing the rank we will forever be locked at, besides Beezer when he decides to play more than like 10 games. So there you go. Straight from the horse's mouth.
He's like top 3,000 champion. Yeah. This guy's, right. Yeah. No, he's not kidding. He has played a few games with me and boosted me, but you know, I gotta say, he looked much better today than he does in some of the games I play with him, and I'm very happy to see it. It was clean for Fisher, and they looked really good.
Yeah, I would have to agree. But I believe that concludes us here for tonight on our broadcast. Of course, we have our Indianapolis land that we'll be going to in the next few days, and of course we're covering all sorts of other games here with NACE Starleague as well, not just Rainbow Six, but you know, of course, that's the game we're gonna prefer with our little biases. That's the game at least I'm broadcasting. You've got double duty there inside of Indiana, but I'm sure you're looking forward to it as well. I want to thank all you guys for all staying here throughout the broadcast and watching our finals matchup for the Open Premiere. But of course, the grand finals is just a few days away, so hopefully you stick around for our broadcast to catch that either in person or on our stream. With all that being said, hope you all have a great rest of your night, and to see you all again in a couple days for the finals. Take care.